Okay, please, 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 I beg of you. Please just work for me. Just this once. Just this once. Please just work. For the love of God, please just work. Yes, delete. Okay, please. I know you can do it. I know you can do this. I know you can do this. Come on. Please. Dear God Almighty, why don't you want to work? Hey, oh, there we go. There we go. We're coming alive. We're coming alive. We are coming alive. Slowly and surely. I think we're good. Okay, my bitrate on Twitch is very low. That's okay. How about Kick? Delete my own comment. Okay, we got Kick running, which is great. That's bread and butter. Okay. That's working. Oh my God. Okay. So, not terrible, not a good start either. Yeah. I guess welcome to the stream, now. Oh man, it is a pain in my ass. Here we go. Please, 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 do not fuck around with me. This is just driving me insane. I want to have a good night with you guys. Whoever shows up, I want to have a nice little night. This is not helping my case. Twitch is probably not going to go live tonight, but that's fine. We got YouTube, we got Kick, that's 2 out of 3, I'll take it. I'll take the hit. Oh man. What a nuisance. What a fucking nuisance. All these problems, and I just wanted to stream. Wow. Even on a PNG model, I can't get any motion. That's just fucking great. Okay. Well, tonight I want to have a good night with you guys. It's just gonna be another chill stream. Nothing really extravagant. And I want to get into some Count Dankula as per usual here. However, before we begin, I want to say we have confirmation. We have some good confirmation. Okay? And when I say good confirmation, I probably will, hopefully. I will probably have a good news in regards that I will have a model later on this year. I know I'm stuttering to fire off a stream here, but things might be changing this year for the better in terms of model and what's going to come about and new things on the rise. And with that being said, I hope that it all goes swimmingly. I'm growing tired of this failing disposition of things. But I'm hoping that perchance things go well. So just hang on as I'm going to go grab myself a drink. And we'll be right back. And we will begin streaming. We will begin our reaction of Count Dankula in just a moment. But if you just give me a moment, I'm going to be right back, okay? All right. Okay, we're back. There's really no one's in here yet. One of those days, right? Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't blow up my phone. Okay, here's hoping things go a bit better right now. Yeah. What a shit show. The chicken's fried, everything's ready to roll. I guess we are going to be going on this one. And this is Count Dankula's video on the on the Max Headroom incident. This is Count Dankula on the Max Headroom incident. And what this what this is about is the infamous TV hijacking back in the days. And yes, that might be a spoiler of the video, but it was essentially it's well known. It's one of the most infamous TV hijackings of all time, mainly for the absurdity of it and the fact that the actual perpetrator never got caught. But Count Dankula, I want to hear his full spin on it, because I only know the Cliff Notes versions from years ago in high school, listening to Blame It on Jorge.
We've discussed before how hijacking TV broadcasts can be really serious life or death business.
Yeah, I also did one on a hostage incident, which happened live on TV as well. However, I know about Max Headroom is that this one, at least, is nowhere near as serious as this was.
However, there are less dangerous and much more funny ways of doing it as well.
Right.
Like inviting me onto GB News, where I instantly get a bunch of Ofcom complaints for making comments on Brigitte Macron's private parts.
Captain Dankula, what do you make of this?
I don't know, I never thought there would ever be a time where there was a nude picture I didn't want to see. I feel bad for everybody in that courtroom.
How the fuck did Marcus get on GB News? That's my question. How the hell did he get on there? Then again, some pundits can get on there. You try to make mockery of them, but even then, it just doesn't work out all the time.
Because you know the thing's going to look like a leper that smoked a firework, but...
Jesus Christ.
She's not able to defend herself. If she's, you know, she's an older lady.
She's
72, isn't she? So come on.
Yeah, she's every right to defend herself in court. I just think it's horrible putting the poor people that work in the court through that.
I haven't been invited back since, but I'm not here.
I mean, fair enough. I mean, fair the fucking out, considering how draconian the UK, like, laws of speech is. His comments would have gone thrown in the fucking bin for sure, but... I mean, Dankula's at least got a bit more sway nowadays.
Well, today, we are going to be turning the clock back to the 80s for the emergence of cyberpunk, hacker subculture, and science fiction going digital. It was...
You gotta remember, too, oh shit, I just remembered it. Oh my god, I read the book. It was one of the most famous cyberpunk books of all time. The thing is that one novel, I'm referencing in my head, I know what it is. The man who wrote it actually didn't understand jack nor shit about computers, even up to the day he died. He's never really touched an actual computer. They called them whizzes or something like that, but, like, he just made up a bunch of pseudo gobbledygook and mixed with some just thrown in terms to make it sound like he actually knew what he was talking about. But he wrote one of the most famous books of for the cyberpunk genre of all time, and the 80s really was that time of, like, not just optimism, but, like, in the mix of the because Blade Runner, especially when it came out in the late 70s, despite it being a failure at the box office, massive cult hit. So Blade Runner really didn't really make it mainstream, but really made the cyberpunk genre more known to nerds. So it was a bit more of a niche, but also an open niche that you could kind of easily get into. And from there on, the cyberpunk genre really took off. Yes, I know about the history of cyberpunk going years back, even before Blade Runner, but I'm really talking about in the 80s when it really began to take shape. This, of course, would be the time where Mike Pondsmith would make up the tabletop. However, this was the genesis of actual hackers. I know, and I will shit on Bill Gates and a little bit on Steve Jobs, but In their memoirs and in their autobiographies, you can look back to when they were in college and when they were back in university, and they had a guy on campus on the computer tech course that they called Captain Crunch, the nickname Captain Crunch, because he found that the plastic whistles inside the Captain Crunch cereal boxes can be used and pick up frequencies used by police scanners. So he was able to tap in and fuck with police scanners just for shits and giggles to see what he could get away with during on a receiver that he'd built. So he basically was fucking with police scanners through an untrackable receiver from Captain Crunch whistles that he pulled out of cereal boxes. So this really was the early genesis of computer hacking, and computer tech geeks really just like learning to mess with their toys. And this, of course, would lead into what Dank was going to lead into, because, well, this wasn't really a computer thing. It was broadcasting. It was using newer forms of broadcast and the new innovations of broadcast made broadcasting a lot more easier, a bit more, cost effective, could broadcast further, but it had a lot of loose ends that were open. And exploitable ends that could be physically backdoored. And I do mean physically. And he's going to get into why, but this was the early genesis of the hacker subculture. Right here.
A very
before
big
becoming Layman
decade
Gay.
for William Gibson in the before four times when hackers wore long coats instead of long socks. And there was one 80s icon in particular.
Oh man, I never understood why so many computer geeks, not geeks, why so many programmers nowadays fall into that. But then again, when you spend hours upon hours away wasting away testosterone in front of a computer, and I'm not trying to sound like a boomer here, because I do fully respect a lot of programmers and actual software engineers. But when you spend hours away tucked away in a little corner, you don't physically lift weights, you stare for hours on computer screens, and your touch with femininity is through pixels. Your interaction with humanity is through chat rooms, like using chat services like Discord. Very much that the femboy subculture really comes in, and that's unfortunate, because it does turn, unfortunately, a lot of good guys. Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm not even... Oh, fuck.
We've discussed before how hijacking TV broadcasts can be really...
Okay, this is Count Dankula's video on the Max Headroom incident. Now, I had to redo this because my stream did not capture it, but I have to refire it up and do it. The Max Headroom incident was a infamous TV broadcast that had happened, a hijacking that had happened back in the 80s. And I only know the Cliff Notes version through blaming it on Jorge when I was back in high school, but essentially it was the time being an early genesis of hacker culture. When it was more so testing limits, not so what you can make out of it financially, but it's kind of like testing the limits of what can we tap into and do and have fun with. This is especially in the earlier days of computing and more advanced broadcasting. This was the time to do so, and it became so infamous for the sheer absurdity of it.
We've discussed before how hijacking TV broadcasts can be really serious life or death business. However, there are...
A bit different than that case, too, because there's been a couple of those cases where there has been actual hostage takings on live broadcasts in the newsroom. Naturally, of course, Dankula did cover that one. However, it was very much a life or death business in a lot of cases of that sort. However, that being said, with that being said, though, I want to say that it really does help to know how to go about this. That at least in this case, it's more so of a lighthearted prank as opposed to a life or actual, well, once again, life or death situation. I don't know how to put it. My brain's a bit frazzled right now, but you get what I'm saying.
Many ways of doing it as well, like inviting me onto GB News, where I instantly get a bunch of Ofcom complaints for making comments on Brigitte Macron's private parts.
Captain Dunkula, what do you make of this?
I don't know, I never thought there would ever be a time where there was a nude picture I didn't want to see.
I can see why they don't want him back.
I feel bad for everybody in that courtroom. Because you know the thing's going to look like a leper that smoked a firework, but...
Oh, you can't say that about Bishop. That's not fair. She's not here to defend herself. If she's, you know, she's an older lady.
She's
72, isn't she? So come on.
Yeah, she's every right to defend herself in court. I just think it's horrible putting the poor people that work at the court through that, but...
No.
I haven't been invited back since, but I'm not here to talk about myself. Today, we are going to be turning the clock back to the 80s for the emergence of cyberpunk, hacker subculture, and science fiction going digital. It was a very big decade for William Gibson in the before 4 times when hackers wore long coats instead of long socks. And there was one...
Oh boy. That's what I don't get about like computer, like the whole programmer socks things. I understand how they get into it. I can understand the stereotype. Just why do you let yourself become that? That's my question. Why? Then again, if you spend your time all day inside and, well, you're easily moldable and you're I mean, I guess a darker subject matter. I think really it's best not to touch on that, but we know why, and it's a very unfortunate case.
Icon in particular, who managed to go from hijacking TV broadcasts in the fictional realm to doing it in real life. The Max Headroom incident. Please leave a like and a comment on this video because it really helps me in the algorithm. Hello there and Merry Christmas. Today's sponsor is me. It's not very often I actually do a bunch of self-promo stuff, so what I'm actually going to shout out most of all is like my Instagram. I'm on Instagram now, and it's extremely boomer coded, and I'm very, very sorry about that. I love going on hikes. But I also want to shout out things like my Patreon and my Subscribe Star. There's a bunch of perks that you can actually get in there where you can get your name featured in videos, or you can actually, if you have some of the higher tiers, you can actually learn what videos are actually coming out for the month when I remember to update you. I've got a lot going on right now. But still, there's other things. There's also merch and everything down below, which is probably probably do a little bit of an update as well. But basically you can find me on Twitter, X, I refuse to call it X. You can find me on X, you can subscribe to my Patreon, you can subscribe to my Subscribe Star, you can follow me on Instagram, and you can also follow my second channel where I cover news stories and upload a bunch of garbage and inane ramblings. I'm very, very tired, and I'm about to take a break for the Christmas holidays. But have a very, very Merry Christmas.
Yeah, this was maybe before Christmas.
Because remember,
sorry for going daft. I'm fighting with some personal effects right now, but yeah, no, this is maybe before Christmas, obviously. But once again, I've always let adverts play as much as I can on stream, and regardless of the age of the video. I want to give full credence to the creator at all costs. So if I go quiet for a little bit, because I don't really have much to say on this, but I'm also kind of dealing with some stuff right now. But yeah, no, here we go back to the video.
Christmas, not happy holidays. Anybody
Amen.
who says happy holidays, shoot them in the face.
Please.
That was a joke. Due to the enduring mystery surrounding today's misadventure, our stand-in for the protagonist is Max Headroom.
Uh-oh.
A fictional cyber...
Yeah, wasn't Max Headroom made for like a TV show or movie? Like, it was literally the case. The actual character was, the namesake comes from a dark bit of the joke where Max, the actual broadcaster, was, I believe, decapitated from a lowering garage door on a motorcycle, and it was, and the ironic thing is, before he died, it said Max Headroom across the label of the door, and when they resurrected his mind into the CGI broadcaster and TV personality, It was the only thing he could remember initially, so that's why we kept saying Max Headroom is what was his name.
AI talk show host created for the Channel 4 film Max Headroom 20 Minutes into the Future and the Max Headroom Show, both of which are set in a corporate dystopia essentially ruled by the television manipulating them.
Oh.
I just absolutely love the boomers' complete lack.
You best start believing in cyberpunk dystopias. You're in one. Oh, yeah. It's just so on the nose at this point. It's so fucking funny. How no one, not even just not like no one, but like how people just completely ignore that. And I just find that eerily funny and disgusting at the same time. That you literally grew up at the time of early cyberpunk dystopian media, and yet when it slaps you in the face, you're like, no, this is right. Oh, you don't trust the TV box? Where's your source? I don't trust the internet, man. I trust the TV box. Do you need someone in a suit and tie to tell you everything?
Of self-awareness. Max was promoted as the very first TV host to be computer-generated.
Quotations.
But the technology,
the budget, it just wasn't there. But yeah, no, as I was saying though, is that I'm trying to collect my thoughts and do multitask a couple things at the same time. As I was saying, yeah, it obviously at this time being it's a Channel 4. It's, for God's sake, it's British. It's BBC Channel 4. They're not gonna have the fucking money to do so to make it actually computer generated. This is the early to mid 80s we're talking here, like very very early computer generation, at the ricketiest at the time. At this time, it's smart. It's a clever joke, and they used a lot of practical effects to make Max Headroom the way he was, and a lot of splice cuts to make the actual character seem as fidgety as he was. Because if you see Max Headroom, he essentially looks like he's always glitching out, but that was part of the appeal. Make it as trippy as possible.
actually do such a thing obviously wasn't available to these Torment Nexus engineers just yet. So Max was naturally portrayed by an actor named Matt Frewer, who was made up with prosthetics and contacts, dressed in a plastic suit, shot in harsh lighting, and had stuttering.
Were plastic suits an actual thing in the 80s? Like, actually as fashion wear? Because you see so much through actual media, but not in the sense of, like, real-life average person. I don't think it was that big of a thing, but, like, in terms of, like, media broadcasting, they loved slapping plastic suits and everything for their, like, movies and media, music shows. Music videos. You'd see this constantly in the 80s with 80s media, but there just seemed to be plastic everywhere, and then just, like, imagine the smell of it.
Added to his pitch-shifted voice, all to make him look and sound artificial.
Right.
His background was also a blue screen with funky geometric graphics keyed onto it.
Okay.
But what really sold the entire thing was that Max was sort of treated like a Muppet.
Huh.
And as far as credits were concerned, he played himself. Frewer was actually contractually obliged to maintain kayfabe and not let anyone know that everybody's favourite AI news...
I respect it. Also, dude's got a good jawline as well, I'm going to say that. But, no, I respect the commitment to the bit, and also, yes, it will be contractual as well. Hopefully he got through... Hopefully in his resume it's like, hey, I played this character, and I can maintain the kayfabe of just not running about with my mouth open about what I'm playing, so... He would essentially be a good actor for many bits or many roles, considering his commitment to the bit.
And was actually just some guy.
Yeah.
Overall, the entire thing was actually really quite creative and innovative for the time.
Correct.
And then the Yanks found out about this techno-futurist spoof of consumerism and corporate psyops, and without a shred of fucking irony, put Max into real advent.
Jesus Christ. This is the... Oh my God. I remember this because, yeah, this was the era of New Coke, so the Catch the Wave, oh boy. Yeah, that's like, yes, it's very 80s and very like pseudo, once again cyberpunk as this Max Headroom setup was, but holy shit, this is just too much, and not even a shred of irony regarding this. Oh my god, look at that, just adverts.
Part of the Max Headroom gimmick is that segments were bookended with static as if Max was interrupting an actual broadcast.
Right.
We haven't had one of these in a while. In the business.
There it is!
Foreshadowing.
There it is. You see a lot of... Oh, Dankula's got... This is one of Dankula's... one of his known clips, or his... not really catchphrases, not his trademark, but one of his known sayings to do. And yeah, there's a lot of foreshadowing with that one.
Because on the evening of Sunday the 22nd of November in 1987, tens of thousands of people tuned into WGN-TV Channel 9 for the 9 o'clock news.
Okay.
Where Dan Roan was going over the day's football. And then suddenly, the feed cut to...
Oh, that's creepy. Oh, Jesus. That is creepy. That is creepy.
As you just saw, a man in a Max Headroom mask emerged with his trademark background simulated with a rotating sheet of corrugated metal.
Yeah.
And then, for 22...
It doesn't really have the same effect, but I mean, once again they're committing to a cheap bit here, like already on a budget. This is that would be nightmarish to see.
2 whole seconds, he just sat there stimming with garbled audio, and then the broadcast actually returned once engineers at the John Hancock Tower got control of the signal back. All in all, it was just a weird 30-second blip. Rowan was rather confused at first, but then his earpiece filled him in on what had just happened, and he just broke the tension with a quip, and then powered through like a professional.
Attaboy.
Going straight back to talking about the Bears, showing those tags, who's boss.
That's more like a Happy St. Patrick's Day Chicago. I don't watch sport ball, I don't know.
Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I. Actually, the computer that we have running our news from time to time took off and went wild. So what we're going to do is start over from the top with the Bears.
If only this incident were so easily dismissed.
Oh, of course it wasn't.
Hours later, a second signal hit a broadcast tower. This time, WTTW.
Anything 9/11 related is gonna make me chuckle. I'm gonna be real. Anything 9/11 related is gonna make me fucking chuckle. Jesus Christ.
Was hit during an episode of Doctor Who, the season 15 Baker era classic Horror of Fang Rock. And it's very, very weird that this is the second time that we've discussed this episode on this channel.
No shit, really? Huh. I guess Lighthouses and Doctor Who go in hand.
It's a banger. But what makes this second hijacking so infamous beyond interrupting absolute Kino was the fact that there were no engineers at the Sears Tower.
Oh no.
Was being broadcast from. Therefore, there was no one to actually stop Max from doing his thing. So Chicago's nerds were just stuck helplessly watching about a minute and a half of... Do you know what? I'm
just show it. Just show it. Because I have seen the full thing. Look, I think I'm better than Chuck Swirsky. Freaking level. Okay, so let's go back to this. Let's take a look at this.
Do you know what? I'm just going to show you.
That does it. He's a freaking nerd. Oh no. Oh no. Oh jeez. Okay, and that was a Pepsi can too. See, that's the other thing I remember about this is that he would parody the actual things of Max Headroom. He took shots at Doctor Who. He took shots at the actual broadcasters at the tower, like the actual the presenters, just randomly. But mainly, it was just to fuck with it. As chaotic as this is, none of this really was targeted for any reason, as far as I can remember. I know I'm spoiling. I guess Dan will probably talk about it, but I have seen this reference in many like clips of like hijackings or the things on television. People trying to make it more scary than it is. It's just a bunch of college students fucking around. This is what this is. I honestly believe this is a bunch of college students just fucking around. And as weird and as like trippy as it is, it's just eccentric. It's just kind of goofy. Is this for the bird? What the hell? Clutch cargo? What? What the hell? I'm sorry. Like every time I see the Max Headroom and like, oh, the scariest live events on TV, the weirdest live events on TV, the darkest corners of live television broadcast, the Max Headroom says they never play the full fucking thing in full. They never play the whole fucking clip in full. They just always keep screenshots or maybe the catch the wave thing. It's just a bunch of dudes fucking around. This is nothing terrifying. It's just a bunch of guys having a goof. Yeah, broadcasting a multi-million, if not billion-dollar corporation, probably owned by Comcast or some shit at the end of the day, or where it happens to Greatest World newspaper. But like, this is nuts. What the hell? What the hell?
As far as I can tell, a massive electric shock, he died instantly.
So that was a little bit fucking surreal, wasn't it? So let's unpack it, shall we?
I mean, yeah, the latter bit, that's interesting.
Right at the start, Max came in swinging, calling the Doctor a frickin' nerd. Or did he?
That's
we'll
a question.
Get into that later. When he starts bullying Chuck Swirsky, who is a sportscaster on WGN.
Oh, he's still going.
Breaks down laughing at his own bullshit before flashing a can of Pepsi.
Huh.
This was a reference to the new Coke ads featuring Max Headroom, hence quoting the Catch the Wave slogan while...
Jesus. They tried to really just hammer New Coke, didn't they? They really tried. And they... Like, yes, looking at this is obviously quintessential, like, 80s of what you would see in someone who wants to make a hyper-nostalgic, like, time capsule of the 80s. Like, to an obnoxious degree we've had to deal with for the nearly decade and a half. But this is just surreal. That is just weird to look at. And, of course, we know how New Coke ended up. It ended up failing. It's like, really? Tastes a bit different. But the main thing is that it really shook down the people who live down south who worked the Coke factory. It's like, this is our livelihood. You never asked us about it, and now you're screwing us over for some invested profits of a foreign nation. Now, of course, that's how it all went to the wayside too. But yeah, no, New Coke was. And honestly, I do believe in the theory that New Coke was supposed to be just a gimmick to piss off people, so when they bring back original Coke, the sales would shoot through the freaking roof to completely capitalize and knock off Pepsi, or like completely wipe out Pepsi. But it's just such a weird gimmick, you know?
showing off their competitor. Then, the devious devil flipped off the camera with what looks like a hollowed-out plastic dick over his finger.
What?
Then he hummed the theme song of a TV show named Clutch Cargo and quoted it by saying, "I still see the X."
Huh.
I haven't actually seen or even heard of Clutch Cargo.
I actually, I think the only reason why I know about Clutch Cargo is because of the hijacking. And even then, I couldn't tell you. Like, it kind of falls into the idea, like, the same thing as, like, Miami Vice or a lot of 80s shows I just never bothered to watch because, quite frankly, I haven't had a lot of time just to enjoy life and do what people do where they just watch or binge shows. I've never had that time in my life to do so, so I guess maybe I'm just out of the loop on a lot of things, but the only reason why I know about it is because of the Max Headroom incident.
So I don't know what that means.
No.
Then Max complained about his piles and made a shitting noise, presumably creating the giant masterpiece that he was dropping on the greatest world newspaper nerds.
Huh.
Which would be the viewers at home because WGN stands for World's Greatest Newspaper.
Huh.
Finally, I think the spanking just kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, we don't need to talk
And
about
then
it.
the hijackers actually ended the broadcast of their own accord. They
Probably thought, okay, this is the spanking parts go too far, and whatever we have afterwards is just not going to top any of this. So why keep a good bit going? It's what a lot of people forget is that, and I feel like a lot of like entertainers, or like amateur entertainers, people who want to make jokes, you see this with like, yeah, I mean, of course, it's just people making funny little shit posts on TikTok, or it could be people on X, or it could be just VTubers or streamers that do a bit. Brevity is the soul of wit, to quote William Shakespeare. Probably one of the most famous quotes of him, and I'm not being avant-garde by saying it. Brevity is the soul of wit. You want masterclass in comedy? First step is brevity is the soul of wit, followed by expectation. I forget how it goes, but it's something about expectation for a build-up. Essentially, creating tension for a build-up can sell a punch, can sell a joke better. I don't know how it goes again, but mainly brevity is the soul of wit. Can you keep this bit or this tangent brief? I feel like a lot of people don't understand, and this is also you see with a lot of content entertainers. They just keep dragging on jokes and dragging them on and dragging them on and dragging them on and dragging them on. And it's like, the punchline isn't sharp. It's now blunt. Keep it simple, stupid. Brevity is the soul of wit. Infamously, you can make fun of the Channel Awesome movies with their jokes, if you remember those, and God forbid if you had to watch them. Not really just Doug, but because I like Doug. I do like Doug. Or kind of like Doug Walker. The thing is, everyone else there was just kind of like this, trying to do the snarky bits and everything. They just kept dragging on jokes. They just kept dragging everything on. They drag everything on. You go to a VTuber stream, and when they're doing like collabs, or they're doing like a collab bit, we're gonna have a big collab bit, and they drag the joke on and on and on and on, and it's just like, it's not funny. It doesn't become funny anymore. Keep it short. Just keep the joke short and sharp. That's it. And that's what these guys understood when it came to the broadcast. It's like, we've already played our best cards. We've already played our best hands. We have nothing else that can probably top it. If we keep this going on, it also puts us at risk for being caught or tracked back down, even though they knew probably a good chance of getting away regardless, and they just thought to themselves, well, this is the best we have. Go on a bang, leave, shut it down.
They didn't get shut down, they shut it down themselves.
Not a boys.
And according to a WTTW spokesman, by the time our people began looking into what was going on, it was over. And since Doctor Who is known to break the fourth wall from time to time, I can't help but find the very first line after the hijacking a rather amusing coincidence. Despite Doctor Who likely not being the intended target of the hijacking, which we will discuss later, I do find it rather fitting in a way. The use of a corrugated metal sheet as a practical effect is actually quite reminiscent of many classic Doctor Who episodes with very charmingly scuffed effects.
That too. I've never been one to be a fan of Doctor Who because, quite frankly, when I first got or heard of Doctor Who, was unfortunately during I was a kid, so I remember I was young, and I went to I think there was a summer camp I used to go to at a university. It was for robotics, it was for other things. What happened is you had people there, older students or university students that were volunteering as counselors, and there was quite a few of them were hipsters. I think maybe nowadays I would have thought they were cute, but back then, and I guess really being a child of mine, once you kind of learn to taste for something, you don't really want to be near it. They just wouldn't. They were both Tea-aboos and they were obsessed with Doctor Who, and they would never stop talking about Doctor Who, and I would never stop hearing about Doctor Who, and everything was about Doctor Who and Doctor Who and Doctor Who and Doctor Who, and it drove me insane, right? And the thing is, I know how Doctor Who really had a massive downfall in the past 20 years, give or take. Probably not, but I'm probably overstepping the time boundary. But in terms of it was kind of I guess suppose Star Trek, early Star Trek, where it was they made the best they could, and charming aesthetics could be used and played off by good acting and by good storytelling. So, I suppose maybe there's credence to that, but I've never bothered to pick up Doctor Who at all. So, and the reason why, once again going back to it, just when you deal with certain things as a kid, or when you were as a kid, and you kind of you get already a precognition of, this series is not going to be something I'm interested in. This series is going to be really weird. You have to have a complete aversion to it. So, I suppose, just from my mindset on it, Doctor Who was never me something I could ever get into or watch, and that's unfortunate because I've heard how great the old seasons are, but it would have been. I suppose I don't understand what Danko is really spurging on about it here.
Bubble wrap monster that, believe it or not, the production actually got away with just because of the sheer.
Actually, yeah, no, as goofy as it looks, credence to where it's done. The cameras they shot it on, the production quality of the cameras they shot it with the grainy photography and grainy footage, goes in hand with helping them that they didn't need to worry about the viewers really knowing it's bubble wrap, or really somewhat tricking the eye to the viewer who just wanted to tune out on it because you can get away with it just from the sheer low quality of the camera.
Strength of the writing.
And that too.
Before Mary Whitehouse unleashed John Nathan Turner's worst excesses, doing so much damage that not even Andrew Cartmel, ushering in a second renaissance for the show, could save it from Michael Grade, who I still have a blood feud with to this day.
I don't know what he's talking about. I'm sorry.
Honestly, it was the biggest travesty in the history of the BBC.
U-Tree. Operation U-Tree. Yeah, the shit that was uncovered with Seville. Yeah, I know Dank's making a joke out of it, but if you know about U-Tree, you know about U-Tree.
Almost. Also, Max
amongst a myriad of other things.
Cyberman. And I think that's pretty cool. But
I'm sorry, what?
Cyberman. Almost. Also, Max sounded like a Cyberman.
Okay.
And I think that's pretty cool. But how did Max do it? How do you just hijack an entire TV broadcast? Well, it was a simple case of intercepting signal. The studios themselves
no shit,
don't
really?
actually have the means to broadcast their stuff.
Right.
So instead, they transmit their microwave signals to a really, really, really tall tower, which then amplifies that signal and then beams it into everyone's boob tubes.
I forgot this also too. People got so used to cable and maybe it's also because I grew up in the time where cable was the gold standard before internet streaming. And when I say grew up, I mean I was like little. Like this was the purveying method. Of course, I got used to the internet cable, though I did have dial-up for the longest time as well. Using cable would be the standard, what most people know, and there's far fewer interruptions with cable. But I also did use satellite dishes for a time too, with a receiver that would also work in our up in the boonies where I lived. Even in the modern age, still using satellite, but eventually that got swapped over for cable and for a different broadcasting line. The thing is, if you remember seeing TV with those antennas, not the rabbit ears, but like the actual boob tubes with the actual rear antennas, I partially grew up on them, or I was used to seeing them, and they are a weird case. They're a strange case, to be honest with you. Not something you really see nowadays. And I personally think they're just cool. But I was trying to get back to it is that it was essentially a case of, were you in range of a tower that you could have these microwaves broadcasted into the television from this main receiver tower. And depending on your range or how obscured the tower was to you, you might have trouble getting into touch with the tower. Of course, that creates the fuzzy effects, ripple effects, interruptions on the stream, static. A lot of this stuff would happen. I just think it's so interesting how rapidly we begin to develop. We're still using older tech, branching off before we really lead to a new tech that would new technology which could really improve the quality of delivery.
So-called, not because of roughly half of the legacy of Game of Thrones, but because boob is a term for idiot over in America.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that TV...
That was the old terminology for an idiot. I don't think most people know it nowadays, but yeah, unless they're older than 40. But boob is old slang for an idiot.
Makes people stupid. So all the hijackers had to do was transmit their own signal at the broadcast towers at a strength that overpowered the signals being sent from the studios.
And to do that, you had to be closer to the tower to do that, and had an equally strong transmitter, but be closer in range to have a sharper, and it'll just edge it out just by a certain decimal point.
Essentially taking over the entire tower. Now, that sounds very, very simple, but it's not. And this is where things start to get very, very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Because such a feat would have required very sophisticated technical knowledge.
That too.
A lot of power and a very powerful transmitter that would have set the pirates back about $25,000 to overpower this TV signal.
$25K today's money, or $25K in 1980?
And they would have needed a direct line of sight to the broadcast towers, which is rather easy because towers and broadcast antennas tend to be a bit tall to cover a much larger area.
Correct.
Because, well, that's the point of them. The hijackers also had to be a little bit high up themselves, but any roof or even a high-rise flat would have done it. So where did the hijackers broadcast from? Well, we don't actually know exactly, but
and this is the problem. They didn't, because it was so early in this type of game of hacking that even, like, it was a feat to pull it off, but it's another feat to find the footprints and track them. And this is also before mass surveillance and improved CCTV. So this especially, a lot of blind spots, little to no footprints. You have to basically play out where would be the strongest point from the strike, and that is your starting point. Even then, they're going to be gone.
we do have a rough idea. Here is a map of Chicago as Google sees it,
Oh, fucking Dankulus videos editors with this. Oh, no.
which I have annotated. Ignore the alerts about the shootings. I mean, it's Chicago. The line between points 1 and 2
Chirac, oh my god.
show the path of the signal from WGN Studio to the John Hancock Tower.
Right.
And the line between points 3 and 4 show the signal going from WTTW Studio to the Sears Tower. Though apparently they now call it the Willis Tower.
Oh boy.
Now, as I understand
Yeah,
it,
because
as a
Sears went
layman and any
bankrupt. Oh yeah, Sears went under, and then they changed it. Oh man. Remember with Sears? Member? Yeah, I remember Sears. Jesus.
Caspergs in the audience are welcome to elaborate or make any corrections in the comments. Since both signals were intercepted within a short time of each other, the hijackers would have needed to be where they were close together, i.e. in that red circle.
Right.
According to Al Skerkowitz, a WTTW maintenance engineer who actually helped the FCC investigate the hijackings, if you were to draw a line in between both of our studio facilities, that line would end up somewhere between the Sears Tower and John Hancock downtown. Somebody could essentially see both of our transmit facilities at Sears and Hancock from the same location.
That's ingenious. But also too obvious.
Of the culprit, he also said that it had to be a broadcast engineer, a satellite engineer, or a ham radio operator, and probably a combination of at least two of those in order to pull this off. And while Dr. Michael Marcus, a former lead investigator at the FCC who actually helped catch a couple of other TV hijackers,
No shit,
which
really?
we will touch on later,
Because if I remember correctly, there was a couple impersonators, and then there was this one guy who, I forget what he did, but he made crazy tinfoil conspiracy, the actual. When in terms of conspiracy theorists, the one that we'd all chortle a guffaw at, haha, oh wow, what a nutty little buddy we have here. He actually pulled that off, but he got immediately
dispute that.
tracked down. He also was the one to post hyper. It was nearly. I think no, I'm thinking of another guy. The one I'm thinking of, he was the one who did the Rapture or the End Is Near hijackings in the 90s or 2000s, but his trail was far easier to hop onto, as opposed to his contemporaries, making him an easier target to pick up on. But this case here, being so early, equally too being so elaborate and well done, I mean, there was going to be no trail for this guy. Or these guys.
I reckon that the equipment wouldn't have actually been too expensive if bought second hand. So, while it was certainly an expert with lots of technical elite hacking skills, it isn't guaranteed to have been an industry insider.
Yeah.
And as for how the first hijacking was foiled, well, that was just as simple as the engineers at the John Hancock Tower just changing the signal frequency of their transmission and therefore avoiding competing with the stronger signal that was knocking them off the air.
Okay.
But with no one at the Sears Tower to do that for WTTW, the viewers at home were helpless.
So he got him at the right time, just at the right time to strike. Oh, that is good. That is clever. Not clever, also just bold-faced luck.
Against the raid by the video pirates. But hey, at least they followed the pirate code because plenty of people found...
Rule 6 of the pirate code, remember to always have fun. I know I'm going to spur it out a bit, but still one of my favorite Pirates of the Caribbean lines, or Barbarossa lines, was, the code is not what you'd call rules, more so guidelines. And that's just how you gotta live life sometimes. Sometimes the code... The Geneva Convention is not really what you'd call rules, more so guidelines. Welcome aboard, Miss Turner. Whenever you want to have fun, or whenever you say, fuck it, we ball, there's sometimes there's no rules, right? In terms of just shit posting and warfare, there are no rules, just guidelines. And of course, pirate rule number 6: always have fun, me laddies.
The hijacking just really, really funny.
Yeah.
Rowan and all of his colleagues thought it was hilarious, and that everyone in the studio, quote, got a laugh
Game recognizes game, and I appreciate it.
out of it. We went home and woke up to the newspapers, and it was a pretty big deal.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, it was so funny that a third Max Headroom hijacking hit the 10 p.m. news on Channel 5.
Hang on. Grainy.
Third Max Headroom hijacking hit
New York Islanders and Toronto Maple Leafs. Yep, that's the old Leafs logo. That would
the
be...
10 p.m.
Oh, no, it's the Sabres. No, those are the Sabres, I think. Yeah, it's the
Channel
Sabres.
5, WMAQT
It's either the Sabres or the Islanders. I'm sorry. A little bit of spurging out about Sport Puck.
TV a couple of days later. However, this was just the actual crew at the station behind the scenes splicing the Doctor Who footage into the highlight reel.
Huh.
So that didn't stop the public from believing that this internal prank on the anchors was actually real. This internal into the highlight reel.
Wait, what?
And behind the scenes splicing. However, this was just the actual crew at the station behind the scenes.
Okay, so even they were like, yeah, no, this is hilarious. We're just gonna fuck with it a little bit. Oh, okay, I love these guys. I love it when because like you only see this on very, very local stations, and people who are just for some reason still obsessed, even mainly younger people who are obsessed with weird fixations on certain local networks, because I may not mean local to most people, but the Weather Channel, for example. People will track down the Weather Channel, use it as ambient for sleep. Will have the 2006 and 2008 Storm Alerts soundtrack for the Weather Channel. Sounds like something straight out of Final Fantasy. If you've not heard it, listen to it. It is an absolute banger. But people will record their local broadcasting channel. And I do mean local, not like, oh, it's a, like, you know, how local we're talking about? Like a state local? No. Like I'm talking about county local. In some cases, the broadcasting channels, and you'll get weird occurrences like where like even the newscasters can like take like a goof by the a goof or a blooper by the crew on the broadcast end and play into it, where it's like, you know, if you've seen the one guy down in Texas who's doing like the local temperature, and it's like everyone in Houston is dead. It's like 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's like, and everyone in Houston's dead. Just points to that. Or the other guy recently, this younger broadcaster who was doing the weather, and he didn't realize that the screen he was working behind, which he can scan and move around like with like a slideshow projector. He didn't realize it was also a touchscreen. So when he accidentally touched the monitor, it zoomed in. He's like, his whole world was shaking in front of him. He's like, I get to play with this, and he just starts playing with like a little kid. You only see this on like local broadcasting channels, and this and too. And I get Chicago's a large metropolitan, metroplex, but they get to fuck with it as well. They get to have fun with it. So I fully respect Game on this regard, where they're just able to have a gap with each other. Because like, yeah, you know what, this weird thing that happened to us. You think I'm gonna let this slip by? Let's have some fun.
Splicing the Doctor Who footage into the highlight reel, though. That didn't stop the public from believing that this internal prank on the anchors was actually real.
Again.
Tonight, I guess I have to apologize for what's been happening the last couple of minutes. It's obvious that Chet Kopic's been jamming my sportscast, and the guy's, he'll do anything to get back on TV. Did you see the...
Meanwhile, Chuck Swirsky was very, very confused. He was inundated with calls from people asking if he knew what had happened. And he was actually wondering why he was called out like that personally, being just another WGN sports reporter.
Yeah, like why in particular? Maybe because Swirsky, I think, well, this was the 80s. This wasn't the era, this wasn't Chicago Bulls dominance era yet. So maybe just because the local team, and because I'm trying to think here, because like this wasn't the era of Jordan or Bolwin, so the Bulls weren't exactly on any dominant streak at that point yet. A good team nonetheless, but I don't think they were on any dominant streak. So the relevancy of them was still yet to be seen, as big as it would be in the early 90s. So my guess, in my opinion, on the matter is that, I honest to God think that perhaps, the guys might have been actual basketball fans, or not really fans, but just like, of all the sports to watch, or all the sports maybe to pop in on once in a while, they pop in on basketball. So maybe Chuck Swirsky was just their point and pick target, just kind of like, you know what, single him out. Because I think Swirsky mainly covered the Bulls, if I'm correct.
As he recalled, my phone started exploding. It was a Sunday night, and I had no clue what was going on, so it was a shock. I was completely baffled. Why me? Why insert Chuck Swirsky into this thing?
Exactly.
I still don't understand. Besides, who in America isn't a frickin' liberal of some stripe or another? And so what if Swirsky is? It's not as if he, as he put it, is out there pontificating politically. Therefore, some people believe that the Doctor Who interruption was actually Plan B, and that WGN was the initial intended target, which I think makes a lot of sense. Not only did Max make direct jabs at WGN, but most people wouldn't have actually even been watching Doctor Who at 11 o'clock at night, because they would have all been in bed getting ready to start the work week, or actually being able to touch a boob.
But yeah, no, I guess that does make sense. I guess maybe just once again, I guess he's right on that point. You can't hit one tower. One tower's over hyper vigilant. The other one's, well, okay, might as well just get it out somehow. And only those that were recording Doctor Who, probably, I think for the most part, I think video recorders were a thing at this time, or recording your TV was a thing at this time. So I do believe maybe, just maybe, that the reason why it exists is because some nerd was recording this episode of Doctor Who for archival and for the archive, and enough nerds, and they were just able to conjugate it into a single piece of media.
In contrast, the news was prime time, and they were discussing their heckin' sacred sports ball. It's very, very likely
that, yeah, Stone Toss. Like, I say we will about Stone Toss, sometimes he does put out a banger. So touchdown. I know I say sport ball like all the other fucking, like, wannabe heckin', know-it-alls, but I just generally, like, maybe it's just me being like this reclusive guy who was too afraid to deal with people, or just kind of burnt out on dealing with people in general. I'm not gonna go into who I am in that regard. It's kind of depressing, but I genuinely can't get into sports. I genuinely cannot get into sports. I don't know what the fuck I don't really care enough to learn, like something like football. I kind of get it to a degree. I just don't really care in playing it. Maybe just because the only sports I was good at was like, I'd be a single event and just be in a zone or my little zen area, and I never really knew what I was good at until later on in high school, and then COVID happened and couldn't play anymore, and it's kind of like, well, I found something in life, and then I lost all motion, and I've just kind of lost any interest in doing so. The only thing I do now is just kind of casually just weightlift, but I only weightlift for myself. And I've mentioned on stream before how much I do lift, but it's just kind of like, there's no celebration, there's no, right? If, for example, if a DI, if someone can do maybe half the weight, like a guy could do half the weights I do, blast trend, get ripped, be the same body fat percentage I'm at, but be with more, with trend and steroids, look larger. They don't have the same ligament, they don't have the same muscle density, but they have more muscle mass. They get the sponsors, they get glamored up for Instagram, they become an influencer. Another face, but they get sponsors and people for them, and they can act crazy for it. A girl can lift a quarter of what I do, but be slightly athletic, and they'll get sponsorships for fucking sport bras and like fucking attire or supplements. I guess maybe because I just never broadcast or capitalized on myself, I just never put myself out there. But people that do see me at the gym, I've gotten a lot of like stray like staring at me from just the shit, like the amount of weights I push and pull like effortlessly without making a noise. Very quiet, very timid guy. So what I'm trying to get out of the end of this tangent is like I never maybe I should do things that are more normcore, but even then, like, I guess it's my own fear of dealing with people just from sheer terror of what I had to grow up with and deal with, that I don't really have the energy nor strength to go out there in public and have my name out there, just because I'm so afraid of people in general. So maybe I don't want to go further down this. It's too depressing, but yeah, no. I guess never could get in a sport ball. I guess maybe it would be better if I did, but I don't know.
That the hijackers actually got foiled trying to dunk on WGN on their own show, so they then regrouped and pivoted, and at least they got something out of doing so, because the nerds who taped the episode were very, very fucking angry that their recordings were ruined. One Anorak went as far as to say, "I got so upset that I wanted to bust the TV."
Is that Heel's babyface? Oh Jesus! Oh my God! I remember that fucking explosion of just Heels had every opportunity to rip apart was it StarCraft? Oh fuck! I can't remember I can't remember it now. But he had every opportunity to rip it apart for every other thing. But when you focus on the fucking pronouns, I get it. It's sickening. I get it. But just Jesus Christ, his meltdown on stream. You literally turn yourself into a soy jack, Heels, man. Jesus Christ.
I really did. Compounding the upset was the fact that the authorities were also very furious. The FCC in particular were...
Isn't your interest Googling the stations?
Really not happy at all. Because they had to take time out of figuring out what downloading is so that they could stop people from doing it to cars.
I still remember these adverts, oh my God. I love when this became a resurgent meme, because it's just kind of like, yeah. We really should go back to piracy outright. We should relearn the art of piracy. Because, holy shit.
In order to investigate whatever the fuck this bullshit was. And once they got their culprit, with WTTW even offering a reward for leads, they were ready and eager to pursue justice to the tune of up to a $100,000 fine and up to a year in prison.
They want their money.
So why such a serious punishment? Well, frankly, this has happened before.
Yep.
And the authorities and corpos were sick of it. Just earlier that year, an employee at the Christian Broadcasting Network got fined $1,000 and sentenced to 150 hours of community service and 3 years of probation for hijacking the Playboy channel.
Never goon, brother. Never goon. Honestly, it's kind of based on it if you think about it, but yeah.
And he played on it, a reminder that, "Thus saith the Lord thy God, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Repent, the kingdom of heaven is at hand." And he played this right in the middle of when they were showing a porno. That's really fucking based, actually.
Absolutely based.
And most notably, HBO actually had their satellite signal completely hijacked in April of 1986.
Seriously?
So that a vigilante named Captain Midnight could publicly berate them for scrambling their signal to stop
Attaboy! That's fucking based. $12.95 a month in 1986? What the hell? That's based. That is absolutely based.
subscribers from watching on privately owned dishes, which actually crashed the satellite dish market because it was much cheaper to just get cable. Captain Midnight was soon unmasked as John R. McDougal, a disgruntled satellite dish salesman because, of course
he is.
also
Never mind.
a Florida man. and he was just looking to protest his business being ruined. He ended up with a $5,000 fine, a year of probation, and the knowledge that such stunts were ruined for everybody else in the future because the offence was actually upgraded to a felony in response to the Captain Midnight case.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, well, corporals get their sway, of course, naturally.
I love how so many hackers way back in the day just got away with all of this shit because all of the technology was just so new that there weren't even laws for it yet. Even earlier than Captain Midnight,
Pretty base,
we
actually.
had a TV hijacking here in the UK. In 1977, ITV Southern Television was actually interrupted by an audio message that was claimed to be from aliens.
That's
The
based.
Mortons figured out that it happened because the hijacked Hannington transmitter was broadcasting a signal from another transmitter instead of through everyone's landline. So, with enough technical knowledge and wizardry, video pirates could actually War of the Worlds the signal. However, that explanation was too technical and nerdy for ufologists, who applied Occam's razor and concluded that it really was aliens trying to contact them.
It really was him. I swear to God. Johnny, I need you to listen to me. Bigfoot is real, and he tried to suck my dick. Gyro, please. You're scaring me. This is the same logic. I love UFO believers sometimes because there's a case where it's like, yeah, there's probably cases where we made contact with extraterrestrial life form, but on the same notion too, there's a lot of nut jobs involved with this, and that's unfortunate when you get into like either occult or ethereal knowledge. It's kind of like it's playing with a grain of salt until you see something really strange, and even then you keep it to yourself. But a lot of nut jobs get involved, and that's the unfortunate thing. And that creates unfortunate and also good obfuscation for yourself. Bad obfuscation where you can't really talk about it. Good obfuscation where your knowledge of things can be waved off as jokes, but slowly playing the seed of knowledge in others' brains. Especially when it comes to more relevant conspiracy theories or relevant arcane knowledge of what's going on behind the scenes of politics or the government or just things in general.
Does. But since all of these incidents, and the Max Headroom hijacking in particular, TV stations actually started encrypting their signals to prevent such chicanery from happening again. And thanks to digital broadcasting, it's basically impossible now.
Unfortunately.
There are some theoretical fringe edge cases that are potentially feasible, but they're so outrageously complicated that I doubt anyone will even bother to try. Besides, the internet is all the rage now, and who can you even troll when no one is even watching TV anymore?
Yeah. It just... Man, baiting and trolling used to be so much fun. It used to be. Now it's all lame and gay.
And besides, it's a lot more fun to just simply raid a random Twitch stream with the boys.
Yeah, true.
Which I promise I absolutely have not done.
Dankula, if you ever catch me on stream, I would wholeheartedly welcome your audience with open arms. For the most part. Some of you LARPers about aristocratic LARPers I will sneer on. But you know what? Dap me up, man. You're welcome in the stream. We can discuss how we want to make the Itty Bitty Titty Committee a terrorist organization over here. I welcome you, Dank. I welcome you and your audience at all. With a cautious but firm handshake. Because I don't want to see your dick, man. I don't want to see your dick leaks.
While he managed to catch Captain Midnight and the Playboy Pontiff, Dr. Marcus, despite his best efforts, was actually unable to find the mastermind behind the Max Headroom hijackings. None of the leads were strong enough to establish the probable cause needed to pursue them. And to Marcus's great chagrin, no one could even really be arsed with it anyway.
No.
Since it would have just been a big bureaucratic headache over what was really just a prank that caused no physical damage and didn't hurt anyone. Even the FBI actually tried examining the footage to establish where it was filmed, as well as who the French maid was. But you can't just zoom, enhance your way to a suspect.
Oh, man. I still love how my dad saw Blade Runner, the first one, I believe it was a repeat matinee in theaters in the 80s, like when he was old enough to get into those theaters. And also on Laserdisc. And he thought it was the coolest shit possible. And he still thinks to this day that the enhance, zoom, enhance scene is still one of the coolest scenes in sci-fi. He's a guy who has these weird tastes. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, technically it wouldn't make sense, but for the time, it seemed cool for a future, like futuristic aesthetic. Thankfully, he's not a boomer who doesn't understand resolution in that regard, but he does get confused about some other things. But watching Blade Runner with him, he was like so giddy to show me. He wanted to show me Apocalypse Now as well. I unfortunately did go ahead and just do it on my own part because I'm like, I don't have time to, like, the one time I want to watch a movie, you're busy, I'm busy. I'm gonna just work on my car and listen/watch the director's cut of Apocalypse Now, the 4.5 hour director's cut. But watching Blade Runner with him, especially the teardrops in the rain scene. Man. You never see a man cry sometimes, but yeah, that scene does hit hard. But yeah, no, going back to the whole jokey bit, but yeah, no, he literally thought it would be so cool. We were gonna have the enhance. I'm like, no.
Especially since whoever it is clearly wearing a mask.
Yeah, exactly.
But apart from this case being the one that got away, Marcus doesn't seem too bothered when he said, in the radio world, a lot of strange things happen. And you can do weird things once and probably get away with it. If you do it multiple times, there's more of a chance you'll be caught. And we haven't seen this guy for over 20 years. But apart from the culture of silence and anonymity in the hacking community,
Yep.
There's no reason at all for the minds behind the Max Headroom hijacking not to come forward, because the statute of limitations for that shit actually ran out in 1992.
No shit. So maybe they also like that. Okay, well, I'm gonna think of it this way, and I know it's a terrible analogy because this is like a harmless thing compared to something that was terrible, that was absolutely horrendous. But the Zodiac killer, their infamy, while non-harmful, only affected the profits and ratings of a corporate news network. And all terms and all cost and expense of it, it was only like a minute 30 seconds hijacked into the broadcast on a low traffic broadcast. Truth be told, I don't think anyone would harbor any grudges against them unless there's some sort of, like, nowadays where it's like a outrage mob over everything. I don't think anyone would harbor anything against them. Then again, too, the legacy is that we don't know who they are, so it makes that anonymity all the more legendary at day's end.
The only consequences left on the table are simply near infinite bragging rights.
Yeah.
Naturally, the lack of a culprit or even lack of any suspects whatsoever has caused imaginations to just run wild over the decades, with theories about who done it ranging from a simple student prank to the actions of a disgruntled technician to hacktivism and to even performance art. Ron reckons that it was just some tech nerds. But
probably.
on the idea of it being an inside job, he did say that if some spurned applicants or disgruntled employees figured out a way to do that, they should have been working here in the first place.
Fuck yeah. Because if you're good enough to deal, like, once again, this is why a lot of hackers, for the most part, if they do have skills that are useful, when after they are caught, or they are, somehow, if they are found out, or they turn themselves in, they often get contracts to work for intelligence networks. Because, like, Game recognizes game. You can have your freedom, have a job. You do something for us. Greater good, questionable, but hey ho, you can do it for us. This is why there's also hacking schools where actual former hackers, criminal hackers, will teach underneath jurisdiction of federal governments for their spy networks. It's just, I mean, industries could also use hackers for testing their security systems and testing backdoors, and more importantly, a lot of this, just like with what can keep your anonymity on stream or broadcast, like they did. Same reason they can get backdoors into a lot of security, into a lot of security, getting a lot of security access. It's people being complacent, gullible, and just indifferent to their job. I mean, think about it this way: you cover your face up to a degree, and you just muffle your voice enough, retain any identifying facial features to yourself, and censor up things that might be specific to your body. You can keep your anonymity long enough. Those who just like to tempt fate and play fire with fire, you can see like VTubers that will do IRL streaming too, but they'll wear like a mask, but they'll like tempt fate by like keeping their tattoos visible, or wearing revealing clothing, and maybe just not even wearing glasses. They'll do that, and it's kind of like, you're really playing with fire here, but you're doing that because you like the chase of it. For the most part, yeah, you'll throw a shit fit that maybe your anonymity got blown, but you like the attention that it gets you. You see this too also with, but for the most part, those who are smart and can keep their ego in check will maintain the full analog suit up of just mask up, glass up, and cover up, and you can basically kind of keep that like very analog anonymity. And going back to the security question, a lot of backdoor access is done just through culpability of the employees being so indifferent to their job. That's mainly because of burnout, lack of pay, being overqualified but underpaid, or just people who are underqualified but overpaid and in positions they shouldn't be in, and they'll just instinctively, oh, I can tell you this, I will tell you that, oh, let me show you what I do. And they let you in through their own ego. And you can hack in and tap into their information. They'll just give it to you on a silver platter, essentially. It's kind of funny that way.
While Rowan sounded like he was genuinely impressed, some people also believe that the actual purpose of the hijackings may have been a lot more sinister. Like, either being a test case for potential terrorist sabotage, or a psyop designed to scare people through its surrealism, shock value, and the fact that it's completely unexplained.
Right.
I know that for some people, the most deeply disturbing part would be that the hijacking interrupted Doctor Who. So, there is a non-zero chance that it was the very first thing that really activated millennial woes. One theory that really got people excited was actually driven by a Reddit AMA by a Chicagoan programmer named Bowie Pogue.
Yeah, I'm gonna take anything with a grain of fucking salt.
Who believed that the Max Headroom hijacking was broadcast by two brothers in the hacking scene, who he dubbed J and K. And he claimed to have actually met them at a meeting of fellow hacking enthusiasts. This got enough attention to warrant a write-up by Vice.
I will take everything with a fucking grain of salt. Vice, especially after dealing with Curious, none of that shit. Well, should be taken. I mean, Vice is Vice too. They don't really have a good track record for the most part, but it's fucking Reddit as well. Like, do you want to believe anyone from Reddit? No, I take everything with a fucking grain of salt from Reddit. I will say though is that you gotta remember too. Dak is right. With such new technology, and usually piggybacking off a lot of old technology, a lot of backdoors were open, and a lot of jurisdictions were not created yet to deal with certain actions like this. Harmless actions in the grand scheme of things, but actions nonetheless. Because technically, this could also warrant, hypothetically, the reason why they could get through law like this and being, for felonies, is that possibly heinous things could be broadcasted through a hijack. But in the 80s subculture, I remember this from a an autobiography. I believe it was about Bill Gates and Steve Jobs during their time at university together. And there was a guy on campus by the name of Captain Crunch, or nicknamed Captain Crunch, and he was called that because he made a interference receiver, or both a receiver and a disruptor, or interference. I forget what it's called, but something that could interfere and disrupt with police broadcasting and can hijack and intercept police broadcasting. Like an early police broadcast, and I believe some military broadcasts, like intercom broadcasts to fighter jets and to personnel in the local Air Force bases. And he got that nickname because the way he went about it is that the main receiver for it was a Captain Crunch whistle, like a whistle from a Captain Crunch box that could pick up and could receive at the right tune the frequency and signal for such broadcasts, and he was able to fuck with it. And it was mainly testing backdoors and seeing what you can get away with, because no one could really think of this. But it was just more so playing around with, with known science, or known science and known physics of broadcasting, and then going through that method. Quite frankly, it's a lost art, but it's also a very interesting concept, especially in the early days. Because you're dealing with a lot of analog with very early digital. So it was essentially, if you could master both analog and digital, you were a master of the game. And that also goes in the hands of those who know the foundations of computing and what we build off of the main foundations of computing. And unfortunately, we have so few people actually retain the knowledge of the main foundations of the original codes of computing that if things go awry, the whole house of cards falls down on itself. We completely crash our own internet, and we could possibly completely crash the whole internet, if not foundations of computing as we know, if we don't retain and have the ability to maintain the old source codes, or the old codes.
But the theory always stood on shaky ground because, in the interest of preserving J&K's anonymity, Pogue didn't post any receipts or provide any other evidence whatsoever.
Exactly.
Pogue later retracted his theory after concluding that there was no way that amateur broadcasters could have access to the caliber of equipment and supply of energy needed to pull this hijacking off.
No.
As he put it, neither existed in the wild in 1987. Personally, I think that J&K probably paid him a visit and very politely asked him to shut his fucking mouth. And then Pogue just forgot everything in his head that made this theory make sense. Still, while that lead might have been a dead end, the hijackings still capture the public's imagination.
Right.
And Swirsky has remained very, very confused to this day about why he was even part of it in the first place.
He'll never know.
Said, people always say, hey, are you the guy that's in the Max Headroom thing? And I'm like, yeah. It's rather strange. I'm just a basketball announcer. All in all, he still took
Poor
it
bugger.
with good humour. And when a Vice reporter asked him if there was anything he would like to say to the hijackers, he laughed it off with, I probably wouldn't say anything because I don't want them to do it again.
You know what? Props to you, man. Good humor.
Rowan isn't particularly bothered about being part of the incident's legacy either, when he said, to be perfectly honest, I would probably give Max Headroom a second thought, beyond the fact that people email me or call me probably 4 or 5 times a year.
No shit, really?
It certainly had an impact on somebody, maybe not quite so much on me. Personally, what I find very interesting about the entire thing is that it was very much in keeping with the spirit of Max Headroom.
Yeah.
Perhaps even elevating it. You see, part of the lore
Truth
of
be
Max
told, because okay, I'm gonna say it. I know Max Headroom was used to promote the New Coke, as I've said before in the adverts. But New Coke was such a shit show debacle with so many attempts of promotion to it that Headroom's main use in the West, outside of England and outside of Europe, was to be used for New Coke. And everyone only focused on the hatred of New Coke, but they don't remember the advertisements for it. there's tons of promotion, tons of advertisements, tons of market, market placement. No one remembers those. They just remember how bad New Coke was or New Coke this. However, in line with that, Max getting this hijack, an infamous hijack that was so absurd at such a time, at such a tower, especially the main one, like having two, but mainly the main one that we all know, made Max Headroom more of a staple in terms of popularity in the West, and I suppose globally, from when it would make its resurgence online as a, as like a thing to put in the the list countdowns on so many channels, like got popular throughout the ages of YouTube. It just kept going through word of mouth and word of mouth and word of mouth, and it has become this own. It's helped promote the legacy of Max Headroom outright.
Headroom's dystopian world is freedom fighters hijacking, or as they call it in universe, zipping into the
That too. It plays into the story of Max Headroom.
broadcasts of TV stations to subvert the corpo's messaging and get the truth out. And as the irony poisoning that started to develop in the postmodern era that we find ourselves in, of course that Max Headroom zipping into the real world was going to take the form of a weirdly prescient, primitive proto-shitpost. Not to blame him for
Naturally.
every publicised crime that takes place, but I do see shades of Sam Hyde in this entire affair.
The Candyman, Samuel Hydeen. One of my old tags, and well, not one of my old, because I've had many pseudonyms, because I like changing my profile name, not my VTuber one, but not of course not this one, but like my pseudonyms I use for gamer tags, and one of them at one point, in 2022, is when Sam was fucking with iDubbbz, for the documentary on Sam Hyde. Sam in post was talking about the ideas that they didn't go through with, and one of them was to stage a fake, to change the company into making a SoundCloud / underground rap studio and producer label. And they were going to have two guys and they were going to stage a fight over who gets the nickname of Cream Boy in front of iDubbbz. And I used the pseudonym for like a short stint of Cream Boy to fuck with people so much, because it sounds like such a, and obviously like innuendo name, but like Cream Boy was gonna be my nickname for the longest time. Just to fuck with people. And like, yeah, like Sam, of course not, you never fucking agree with Sam on everything, because like, Sam fucks with people that try to worship him. Sam, for the most part, likes to just have fun on his own part. But he's dealt with actual nut jobs of trying to come after him. So, like, I'm not going to agree with Sam on everything, I definitely don't, but like, Sam, naturally too, does fuck with people a lot, and I can completely respect that bit on him. Fish Tank Season 1 was something to behold, holy shit. But I just think that, yeah, no, he is right. This was the proto version of Sam Hyde. Like, the hackers were the pro version of Sam Hyde, just completely bizarro. Unfiltered, unbridled weirdness and edge, and just screwing with people. And at the end of the day, even though it was screwing with people, it wasn't hurting them. Sam, as much as he fucks with people, doesn't instigate riots, doesn't instigate mobs, doesn't instigate things after them. It's their own reaction that causes this. Sam did more for Airsoft Fatty than iDubbbz claimed to pretend to do. Sam did a lot of shit. And to this day, Hassan Piker, for all his fucking failings, and yes, I don't like him, I very much don't like him. I'm saying, for all his fucking failings, for how much of a jackass he is, all you need to do, despite all things that can set him off, the one thing that's consistently really fucking pissed him off is if you make notion of the Candyman. The Candyman will always make that fucking Turk lose his goddamn mind. Any notion of the Candyman. Because you were too much of a pussy, even though it was probably most likely Sam fucking and making a shitpost of a fucking with Hassan and making a shitpost. The Candyman bit, to this day, will ever immortalize the fact that Hassan became such a pussy about it. All he needed to do to wipe it off and not make it another bullet in the chamber to make fun of him with was just not freak out about it. Was not to talk big and do nothing, or talk big and then puss out from any challenge. It was to maybe make a little shitpost and then hand wave away while equally taking on the challenge of the Candyman. Obviously, Hassan's a fucking retard. He's a lot of fucking things, definitely, but he's a fucking coward. But more importantly, all he needed to do was accept the Candyman's challenge. People wouldn't have another round in the chamber to make fun of him with. I've actually made light of himself a bit. But he didn't. And you're scared of him. You're still scared of the Candyman. And it only grew Sam's legacy. For all the times he's had it, and Sam kind of, I don't think he's the same way as Medicare, but he's still in that mindset of what Medicare is. Because Mr. Medicare and Sam equally too have had channels terminated throughout the years. Have had Sam, especially with his Adult Swim show, and many other projects that got terminated or got canceled or lost funding or were pulled from air or were whichever way to Sunday. Sam and Medicare meet that same match of, if I lose my account, just make another one. Who cares? I can start over again. I can start over how many other times. I'm still me. I'm still the same talent. I don't need to change. This is what people want. And yes, it's going to catch me some flack, but at the end of the day, I gain more of a legacy and gain more of a stable knowledge and possible wealth of people and funding in the long run. This is why people respect Sam. I really don't like people who worship him, but this is people who respect him. This is people who respect Medicare. They just keep rolling with the punches. They don't stop. They can't stop. They won't stop. And this is the difference between a lot of people compared to Sam, or people who try to be safe, edgy, or people who try to get big and just don't realize it. What you need to know is never take yourself too seriously. Sam never did. Sam has never done that. Neither has Medicare. Never take yourself too seriously. They still treat themselves like normal people. That's why people like him so much. They still love what they do for the most part. Sam has had a couple breakdowns or crash outs, I guess, if you want to use Zoomer slang. But those were during highly stressful projects like Fish Tank. So, yeah, not everyone's infallible, but still nonetheless, don't take yourself too seriously. And this is, Dank is once again right. These guys are very much like the proto version of Sam, or the hijacking. They didn't take themselves seriously. They're just shit posters.
Especially since the real Max Headroom is very Adult Swim coded.
Yeah.
The hijackings are certainly one of the...
Also, remember too, I'm going to go a little nostalgia bit too, but remember the Adult Swim bumpers? Sourface literally blew up in popularity because of the oil rig bumper. A lot of how many of those bumpers got lo-fi and chill artists to blow up in popularity because of just the old sense of keeping it grassroots. To this day, MF Doom's Christmas broadcast on Adult Swim is going to be probably one of the most legendary things that any celebrity rapper has ever done, because MF Doom just kept it grassroots, kept it chilled, got drunk on broadcast. Of course, most of it's pre-recorded, or possible acting too. But MF Doom got drunk on broadcast and was talking about celebrating Christmas at the Adult Swim, and just ad-libbing everything. You're not going to see that anymore. And yeah, that was maybe just TV, but that was also early internet culture that Doom was kind of getting into.
First instances of trolling as we know it today. And it's not as if Sam isn't known to completely derail unduly respected institutions with a wildly abstract prediction of the future for
Yeah. Yeah.
a laugh. Point being, I think Sam Hyde is a lot older than we all think. But
Potentially.
the problem with such irony poisoning is that the entire Max Headroom gimmick has basically become the hacking equivalent of the Akira slide.
Yeah.
Apart from me,
Oh, God. I fucking... Ugh! I'm sorry for feeling pissed off, but, like, I can't stand the Akira slide anymore. Because... At one point, it was a brief homage. You'd see it once in a blue moon in a show. And then everyone started to do it. And then what made it worse is just like also the millennial writing of how people do references is where they have to point it out. They have to point out. I've seen this before. Isn't that from heckin' Akira? Whoa, we did a homage to Akira. Shut the fuck up. It's the most basic bitch, easy to watch anime movie of all time, right? Anime, it's of all the anime movies there is to watch, it's the most basic bitch one to reference, to homage. It's safe. It's very normcore and safe to get into. Don't pretend it's anything more. It's cool, but now it's lost all of its, all of its charm, how overused it was. And so is the Max Headroom thing, because, yeah, look at that. Even how many musicians used Max Headroom as a bit? Fuck. Look right there. Most famously, one of the most popular Eminem songs, Rap God, which everyone thought there was hot shit to try and rap over and try to replicate, because Eminem could rap for a couple, for about 20 seconds and in rapid fire succession. Everyone wanted to replicate Rap God. It wasn't even tongue twister lines, it was just how fast he could do it. There weren't really tongue twisters. And he did it through the Max Headroom filter. And that's got how many billions of views on YouTube and how many billions of plays on Spotify. It's not cool anymore, unfortunately.
Nostalgic appeal for pre-digital technology and 80s genre trappings, nothing actually came of the hijackings whatsoever.
Yeah.
Boomers may actually have a 100% attrition rate when it comes to getting one shot by the TV, but they shoot back with such vacuousness and accelerated metaphysical entropy that just nothing is edgy anymore.
Yeah.
Also, I miss funny hacks. Nowadays, it's all data breaches and ransomware and, I'll post your nudes if you don't give me money and all that. What
yeah, it's really heinous shit that happens. It's data breaches, leaking personal information. It's social security breaches. It's financial breaches. It's bank breaches. It's also really heinous shit. I'll hack your software, give me money, or else I'll frame you for this. There's a lot of fucking shit going on. And none of it's fun anymore. None of it's cool anymore. And then, of course, you got... Maybe the only interesting things is, the guys that will counter-hack script kiddies on, when it comes to Roblox, or, people who use in first-person shooters who use hacks to fuck with people, to edge themselves over others, and just, they're being tryhards, salty tryhards who can't even get good at the game, and they fucking do it there. And it's just it's not even fun. It's not even cool anymore. Where's the cool, funny hacks, right? You don't hear about these anymore. They're just all gone. It just feels depressing.
What happened to the funny hacks? What happened to hacking the CIA website and replacing it with Goatsy?
Yeah!
I miss funny hacks. Bring back the funny hacks.
Thank you. It's also, there's no, with a high amount of, with how much of a felony it is, and how much you can get away for jail time and fiscal, with also the fiscal penalty too. It's just not worth it too, unfortunately, to the ones that can do it. And it's getting harder and harder nowadays. Well, harder, but also equally easier. Now, we're going to move on to a different Count Dankula video. That was, and thank you, Marcus, for making that one, because that one was very, very good. But we're going to move on. To another Dankula video. And this one is about banned world records. And to say world records, I mean, I can probably think of a few cases where world records are just like such a comedy, like they're just such a joke. But to get a world record banned has got to be its own thing. And I don't think, and knowing Dank, I don't think it's the ones that are going to be banned for actual bodily harm. I think he's going to talk about some really stupid shit. And this one, because like the Guinness Book of World Records has gone really, really stupid with just how much of a naysay they become to their own product, because it's no longer like Ripley's is not even like as wacky or as wild as it used to be. It's now just repeating the same regurgitated shit that made them popular, and then just not doing anything new or really out there anymore. So let's get right on into it, okay? And this one is the Banned World Records by Count Dankula. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to Marcus. I really like his channel, and I really like his content. I know I'm kind of mooching off here, but once again, I really want to give props to Count Dankula. I love his work. I love his humor on his main content. Maybe him and I may disagree on a lot of things, especially with some of his diatribes about the states, but you know what? I like you, Marcus. Keep doing what you're doing over in England, okay? Don't black pill, okay?
So, as you're all aware, I'm something of a specimen.
Of course you are. I've seen you. I've seen you try to show off those muscles, Marcus. I'm sure you are.
Yes, really. I am, for all intents and purposes, a walking refutation of everything thought to be understood by modern science. I'm a genetic freak, and I'm not normal. And naturally, as a result, I should be...
God made me different, God made me special, and God made me your fucking problem, and by God, I'm gonna make it a nightmare for you.
Setting records all across the board.
Yeah.
But I can't, because once again, the man is trying to keep me down by conveniently making every single record that I want to...
God forbid a white boy get a little bit of motion.
...hold, banned, or discontinued. Yes, there are a lot of world records now that Guinness World Records will no longer record. They won't even turn up to your world record event like they do with all the other world records.
Didn't they try? Okay, something actually I want to look up, because I'm a longtime viewer on my personal channel of LA Beast, and I gotta look up if LA Beast still retains his records, or if they were actually put in the Guinness Book of World Records. Because didn't he do the world record for the most distance walked on Lego bricks? Retain his world records. Okay. So LA Beast does retain about 8 world records, supposedly. Mainly due with his challenge eating, because once again, I love Kevin here. He's a specimen, but he's a great guy. He holds the world records for the fastest time to eat all chocolates from an advent calendar, which is 1 minute 27 seconds, 1 minute 27 84 seconds, which depends on what advent calendar they're using, because like I've never seen an advent calendar use more than like a half inch by half inch size chocolate for the advent calendar. Most peanut butter cups are eaten in 1 minute 8. What the fuck? That's time to drink water. Okay, so these are his eating records. I want to see if he holds the record for the Lego. LA Beast currently holds the Guinness World Record for the farthest distance walked barefoot on Lego bricks, which he achieved in November 20th, 2020, covering 3,886.2 meters, or 12,750 feet of walking on this. This record remains officially recognized as one of the latest available information. Okay. So LA Beast, they still recognize that record. Okay. Let's see. Most ice lollies, eat popsicles in 1 minute. Okay. Fast and drink 6 beers through your nose. What the fuck? Fast and drink 2 liters of soda through a straw. That okay. Most gummy bears even with a stick of 1 minute. So like LA Beast, being the monster that he is, being an entertainer, being a professional eater, in the sense that he does it as like in competitive eating, which is I still think is a kind of, I know it's both a interesting but also questionable sport, if you will. But he just kind of goes out there and does whatever record he wants. But LA Beast, as I'm saying though, I can't believe his records are still recognized, because like Guinness will pull the hair trigger on like goofier records, or like records they just think, well, this will cause harm to people, this will hurt people. Dude, he did it. Like, I don't know if if LA Beast got any records revoked, but or they were like unofficially pulled out because like, oh, we don't recognize this as a record anymore. But like, I mean, I'm glad he still holds his records, because like, you gotta recognize the king, right? In my opinion. Anyway, back to Dankula.
And even if you do break the record, Guinness World Records will refuse to record it in their book.
Yeah.
This is because these world records are now considered banned.
Banned. For what reason?
A bunch of different reasons. Like the danger posed to the participant, danger to bystanders, danger to the environment, or for various other ethical reasons.
Right.
So, these are some of the world records that you, or more importantly, I, can't compete for anymore.
Shit. Alright, here we go.
Please leave a like and a comment on this video because it really helps me in the algorithm. The new year. An opportune moment to finally turn a new leaf and
Oh no. No. Fume. So, in the auto shop I work at, some of the guys like to play on their speakers the Unsubscribed podcast. And I know I watch a few VTubers who've also commentated on Angry Cops. And whenever I see the Fume logo pop up, I'm eternally traumatized by Count Dankula's writing staff for their proclusivities for the innuendos on the Fume ads. And every time I hear Fume brought up, I can only think about how Dankula mentions how he's being blacked and he'll never go back from his black licorice fume. And I just kind of weep. I weep slowly as my guitar sings for me.
Do something productive with your fleeting little life. Again, tell me, Chud, have you got yourself a little New Year's resolution? Are you going to actually hit the gym this time for more than 2 weeks?
Oh, I hit the gym more than enough, buddy. I just need to pull bitches. But I'm like Yamcha. My ass gets beaten down and I pull no bitches. I still gotta get up again. I'm on the Jumblewumba mindset. I'm tub thumping.
Maybe you're going to finally ask your boss for that pay rise that you've been mulling over. Maybe, and just maybe, you're trying to lose that one bad habit. Need I even say his name? Of course I do, because he is my current dom. His name is Fume. That's right, my diligently dubious darlings, my beloved sweetheart Fume is back, and they're here to help you kickstart the new year. Who is Fume? You serious? I must fix this. Allow me to enlighten you. Fume is the premier in flavored air devices that vows to help you with that one bad habit that's followed you into 2026. It helps you to return to your best self without any dodgy chemicals or blinking electronics that make my head hurt, my lips dry, my knees weak, and my palms sweaty.
Mom spaghetti. No.
You see, Fume is refreshingly simple. A rock-hard and firm wooden frame with a plumed, smoochable head that's also inviting. Fume's sturdy form is worth admiring on craftsmanship alone. But let me just say, size isn't everything. Indeed, despite the deceptive simplicity, Fume has a wide catalogue of fruity and fancy flavours to fall in love with. From grapefruit to maple pepper, there is definitely a flavour for you.
Pepper?
And let me say, it really helped out with my nasty habit of eating lipstick.
What? What?
The glittery ones taste the nicest.
I plead the fifth on that. Cherry Coke lipstick. That shit tastes good. Don't ask how I know.
But it kept getting in my teeth. Now, I thought that I was fairly orange vanilla, but I was experimenting the other day to see which one would make me peach blush. And after sampling some crisp mint, I eventually found the one who really stole my cinnamon heart. Let me just say, once you go black licorice, you never go back. Though I'll admit the limited time gingerbread core has been quite the tantalising prospect.
Dankula, stop it, please.
So grab that old vape and kick him into the history books because he's a fossil. If you want to join me and over 700,000 people on your own journey to better habits, you need only scan the QR code on the screen or go to tryfume.com and use code...
But yeah, let's be real here. Vaping is just disgusting outright. You know as well as I do. Vaping is just a fucking mess. It's gross. Stinks. Whether or not you're getting secondhand, like, poisoning from it, it's just the worst to be around. It's obnoxious. It stinks. You're getting bombarded with forms of flavor. It's just, I don't know.
Dankula at any point in January to get your cores doubled and a free topper with your journey pack. Again, scan the QR code on the screen or go to tryfume.com and use code Dankula during this month of January to get your cores doubled and get a free topper with your journey pack. Thank you, Fume, and now back to the video. So, where do we even begin? Well, let me preface by recounting the blatantly obvious. What the hell even is the Guinness Book of World Records? Well, as my Irish researcher just won't shut the fuck up about, it comes from Ireland.
Right.
Specifically, Wexford. This...
I mean, it is called Guinness Book of World Records. Until you saw a bottle of Guinness, I don't think you'd be able to picture, like, you probably think it's its own standalone company, but then the moment you see the Guinness beer and you realize it's from Ireland, or like Guinness, the Guinness company, and you realize it's from Ireland, yeah, it makes sense.
Most likely means nothing to you as an audience member and presumably functioning adult. But for Africa Chan, it became a point of pride.
Not Africa Chan.
He's from Wexford.
Yeah, so if you don't know, Dankula has a lot of interesting videos about Africa, which are very well thought out, well researched, overtly researched, and usually Dank was having a drag just going through them. It's because Africa Chan is his autistic editor and writer who makes a bunch of stuff for him. And infamously, a long-running gag now for Dankula's channel is that everyone wants him to do the Madagascar video. The history of Madagascar, and Dankula's been really putting it off, probably building it up more and more as a joke, but it's, to hype up the video, but Africa Chan's really been making that his passion project, and it's just been a running gag.
So, all Wexford really has going for it is the Guinness Book of World Records and an autist obsessed with Africa. That's just sad. But because he won't shut the fuck up and just do his job like a normal adult, he wants me to say the following. fuck townies, fuck tinkers, and fuck dubs. What separates man from beast is the Wicklow Mountains. And what separates men from supermen is the Slaney.
You know what? I'm glad I don't have an ounce of Irish in my blood. I'm so glad. I've dealt with so many Irish, or like Irish descendants, who are mixed blood of German and many other European ethnicities, but they like to hone in on the fact they're Irish. And they're like, yeah, I'm as tough as Irish. I'm a tough Irishman. I drink, I fight. And I'm like, yeah, great. I got Scottish blood. Clan Gordon. You talk about your fighting and drinking, we talk about our heroin. Shut the fuck up. Sometimes I get like annoyed with the Irish. Oh boy. They're like the wee was kangs of Europe. Like, it's just kind of like, I just feel like the Irish can get on my nerves sometimes. I'm pissing off probably a lot of guys who are Irish, because like, it's weird. I like a lot of Irish bros, but I've dealt with so many actual, like, Irish wannabes or hard knocks, and it's like, dude, you're like a quarter blood Irish. If your life's just built around fighting and drinking, or like your whole persona of your bloodline, is it really a bloodline worth preserving? That's my question. Because I can look down my bloodline and my people, and going way back centuries, possibly eons, I can say to myself with sheer confidence, we got a lot more going to us than what we drank and what we put our fists into that night. We got a lot more going for us. I'm very proud of my bloodline. I will not take anything about it. In fact, I can look at my bloodline and say, well, I'm very proud of it. But when you deal with, like, you know, it's not even the actual Irish. Even fucking Garth Ennis made fun of it in the Punisher Max line with the Kitchen Irish thing, where you had the Americanized Irish trying to talk to the coward, like, and Finn Cooley was like a coward he was just in it for the money for the IRA. He didn't believe in the fucking cause. He just did it. He did it because he initially did it when he was a young guy, and then all of a sudden he became a fucking just. He wanted to get the money out of the Irish crime syndicate. But like you can see the wannabe, hey, it's like the brave Finn Cooley, the IRA member, and you know, let's all drink for Finn Cooley, and he's like, please shut the fuck up, mate. He's like, shut the fuck up. Telling him to be quiet. It's so good. If you ever get to check out the Punisher Kitchen Irish comic book series, it's comic book arc. It's so funny. It's so good. It's Punisher Max, by the way. But my experience with dealing with actual Irish is just kind of like the Americanized Irish. Not terribly a fan of dealing with them. Actual Irish bros, I like them for the most part, because a lot of them don't live up to the stereotype. They're pretty cool guys. But the ones that want to make it their personality, it's like, hey, I'm a tough Irishman. It's like, hey, the can I fight? And I'm very, you know, fight for the IRA. It's like, a lot of your boys were funded by fucking Margaret Thatcher. Don't go on this, okay?
South Side.
What the fuck?
I'm not sure what any of that meant, but it probably made sense to all of the bog munchers out there.
Yeah, I'd say.
But anyway, it was in the Slob, a rather funnily named and apparently quite serene wildfowl reserve out in the mudflats on the eastern outskirts of Wexford town, where in 1951, Sir Hugh Beaver, what a fucking name,
what a fucking name,
managing director of this rather niche and little known local brewery called Guinness, was out with a bunch of his friends doing a spot of shooting. I know. Who could have seen that coming? It's only in the fucking name. So, while Huge Beaver was out shooting on the slob, a scandal occurred. When Beaver missed a shot on a golden plover, he got into an argument with one of his companions about whether or not a golden plover was actually the fastest fucking thing on the planet. Beaver's companion disagreed, claiming instead that the fastest bird was the mighty red grouse. And then he presumably told Beaver that he was just a bad shot, a shite sport,
damn, bro,
and that he should just take the L.
So just dudes rock a little too hard and they start shit talking, and everyone's like, yeah, let's fuck it, let's make a whole damn you know, a whole generational legacy of world record books and industry Just because we had a little spat that one time. But we're going to make up for it because we're dudes and we rock.
He didn't. Eventually, the argument got to the point where they were desiring a fact check to manifest and settle the debate. But, as you may expect, there was none, because this was the 50s and there was no internet or, say, a giant book that tells you all about such things. That's when a light bulb moment occurred that led to the eventual creation of the Guinness Book of Superlatives, with Boyle Beaver linking up with some of his fact-finding university chums in London to record, codify, and distribute for free this book to every single pub in the British Isles. In the process, settling many a debate and consequently possibly starting even more arguments.
Yeah. You know what? It makes... Yes, you ship these books out as promotional. Okay, this is what I feel like a lot of companies don't understand nowadays. I like Gamer Subs. I like using the product. I'm not sponsored by them. Let's keep it real. Clairvoyant, so I don't get my ass hit with litigation. Gamer Subs, for some reason, stopped sending me free shit when I would have my massive orders come in. And this is for my supplements. I order essentially 6 months worth of sups and sleeping powder, and this is stuff I'd use for 6 months. They stopped sending me free samples. They stopped sending me any stickers, anything of the sort. That's what's always kind of bothered me. It's like a lot of these companies talk about, we're gonna have a promotion, we're gonna have artist cups, we're gonna have all this other stuff, we're gonna add companies used to promote stuff, but now it's like, oh, to get our special product, you have to pay extra dollars for this promotion while buying this amount of product. It's like, you know what I miss? Or what I'd like to see again? And this is a guy, and I used to collect trading cards, I used to collect sport cards and Pokemon cards back when I was a kid, but I'm thinking a lot of people don't realize, as a guy who also has a weird suppository of history and marketing history, cigarette companies used to put in trading cards to help keep the cigarettes straight in the package, because package could get bent in delivery, but a good bit of reinforcement from cardboard, or cardophilium as they call it, or cartography. I forget what they called the prints they used to put them on. But anyway, cigarette cards. You get one per pack, and of course a lot of people smoke packs, like a pack a day, pack multiple days, and for a couple of months they would have, or a year, they'd have card sets in print for maybe even a couple of years even, that you could basically collect them all, and you'd do it by taking a pack of cards, and you get a random card within it for every pack. And I thought to myself, in my head, what if a company that does supplements, in the wake of recent things with Ref Says Desu being dropped and his wife Straw being dropped by Advanced GG, I would not say their name because fuck them for backstabbing one of their best sponsors. I'm just saying a good idea for a supplement company would be for one of these energy companies that are getting very popular, it's like, well, you're not getting close to somewhere, you're no longer putting in free samples for my stuff. I'm kind of like, maybe if you were to, I don't know, per 100 scoop tub, you could get a little short print trading card. Because they tried doing the gaming card thing, or TCGs, with some of these companies for streamers or VTubers. My personal opinion on the matter was, if you're going to do promotion, just do an innocuous trading card. It has maybe the links to the streamer on the back, or has an original art piece in the front, no text in the front. On the back of the card, it's just streamer's name, or maybe a little bit about their kayfabe, or especially for VTubers, a little bit of the kayfabe, right? Or just have artists do their art, like OCs on there, and there you go. That type of thing would probably work, because you gotta remember, with cigarette cards, they existed for years. And everyone, and if you talk to someone like, oh, the most valuable trading card in the world, it would be, the Jack LaViolette rookie card, or it would be the Ty Cobb cigarette card, or there's a bunch of them, I can't remember their names, but it would typically it'd be Sport Ball or Sport Puck trading cards. But there was, in England, cardophiles, as they're called, and they were typically lords of estates who just had a weird hobby they had for themselves. They're typically, you know, members of like business bureaus, and you know, a lot of smoking, and some of them just for some reason started to amass massive collections of any cards that were, or any sets in print, and they would preserve them mainly for the artwork and donate to the museums upon their passing. It was a weird collection hobby that some people might sneer at being weird, but these guys preserved these art cards, essentially. And these cards would have things on them like ships of the time, trains of the time, historical figures. It could be anything as from not just as botany and gardening trading cards. I'm not kidding you, with like different species of fauna, to flora, to even pinup cards. And these are different from like the Playboy or like porn, I suppose, porn trading cards of the 2000s and 90s, which is, that's a whole nother fucking rabbit hole. But like of actresses or models of the time that were burlesque but tame. I'm saying is what maybe these companies should do, and I'm going back to I'll go back to Guinness here, but in promotion for their product, especially when you're riding high, your customer base that already bought your stuff is not going to be interested in your samples. They already have the flavors they want to use, and yet you're trying to have them pass out the samples along. I think GamerSupps, for example, would be at a big enough position to do these one per tub trading cards, so one tub equals one trading card, and the set could be something whatever. It could be a different thematic, or it could be around a genre of streamers or celeb or their collab partners, but it could be whatever, kind of like the old cigarette cards. I feel like that would do well for the company. I've tried emailing support for that idea, but you know, they're not going to listen to me because I'm some jag off. I don't know. I sometimes I give up my ideas for free. But going back to Guinness here, this is very smart marketing on their end, because it's like, okay, we've issued this challenge. We want to see a world record. We want to amass all we can of no knowledge in the world and make a world record of this. Great. This is a good conversation starting piece. Let's ship this with a keg, like one promotional keg, or they get signed up to where it gets sent to a bar, and the bar puts it on a stand, all promotion. Everyone starts arguing. It's like, is that really true? Oh, it's kind of like Ripley's Believe It or Not, but like more factual. Of like, let's end this feud we had at this bar and this pub. Well, let's start a new one. Oh, that cannot be right. Oh, I assure you I can do this better. I assure you I can set the world record. I hold the world record. No, the guy down the pub next door holds the world record, and so on and so forth. It becomes a conversation starter. It brings more people to the bar, sells more Guinness. La-di-da, it also can be sold in homes. It was a genius idea of just a not ghost marketing. I suppose just passive marketing, if you will.
And wouldn't you know it, it caught on.
Naturally.
With that dastardly little book being circulated all over the globe. Eventually dropping the superlative title and replacing it with records and adding the world in.
Yes.
Becoming the mighty tome that we all know and have in our house unopened somewhere, because it's just like the #1 Christmas present for some reason.
That, and once again, I keep going back to Ripley's Believe It or Not, or this was the thing you'd have as a kid. And I still remember, I believe it was Final Fantasy 13 or 12 at that time when I was a kid, that had the world record for the highest budget for a video game. And it was a still shot of the game, of one of the cutscenes in the game. And I remember seeing that, as I was only allowed to play on a Wii for the longest time. And like, this is what I'm not playing, this is what I'm not getting, wow. And those cutting edge graphics nowadays, it's just kind of like, we've kind of reverted back to just graphics being secondary and gameplay mandatory, which is what I'm glad for, like gameplay and story being mandatory, but like, I'm like, jeez, this is what we thought back then. But like, you can find, if you go through your, like, if you haven't already got rid of it, but if you go through like your old childhood book collection, you'll probably find a world record, or Believe It or Not, in there somewhere. It's just for some reason materializes over time. I don't know why.
Yes, this video probably reminded all of you that you actually own a Guinness Book of World Records, and it's been sitting in your toilet for 6 months underneath a 2008 edition of the National Geographic and a local newspaper that you swiped just to draw mustaches over, just in case.
Yeah. No newspaper in mine. I mean, I don't even scroll the phone. I fry chicken and drop it quickly and get going. That's my thing. But I don't even sit there scrolling. But I remember when I used to read books did I? Well, yeah, on the royal throne. And I would read books. It would be mainly just like volumes of comics, or like newspaper, like what I'm talking about, like analog, volumes of like different forms of like newspaper comics. So the digest, or like a Jughead digest or some shit like that. When I was a kid, I would go through different phases where I would read Peanuts, and then read Calvin Hobbes, and read Garfield, and then I got onto the Far Side, and then Big Nate too, like the actual Big Nate comic run, because it was in the Washington Press for Big Nate, and I was like, it was pretty good, I would say, but mainly it was, I think the Far Side is what I really got into, and I kind of just left it from there. It might have helped this. I was one of those guys that liked absurd humor. I really like Far Side.
I see you for what you are, and it disgusts me. Yet I entirely sympathise. So
Absolutely.
How does Guinness World Records actually go about recording said records? Because sadly for you, you can't just go and gun for the record without jumping through a few hoops first.
Yeah, they have to verify and prove it, and they have to video documentation, someone to verify it's been done. This is why you won't hear about that's why a lot of records are hard to be pressed into there, even though we know things are done with enough proof, because they just had to have one of their guys be there to observe it. Kind of stick with tradition, I guess.
Indeed, you need not only train and practice to break this exact record that you're gunning for, but you also need to submit an application to Guinness so that they can send some dork out to you so that they can officially witness and record the feat in person. Only then can your attempt at a record even be considered for recording. So, with that being said, name some records, fat boy. To which I say, first off, I'm not fat anymore. Shut up, you're mean. Second off, funny you should mention that, because our first record is held by one Angus Barbieri. So who's this fucking ham planet? Well, here's the thing, he was actually cursed from the moment he was born.
Uh-oh.
Because Angus here is not only from fucking Dundee, good lord my
Oh, lordy.
but he's also the son of Italian immigrants who owned a chippy.
Oh, boy. Not the mega chip.
He never stood a fucking chance.
No.
God basically commanded him from birth to be a tubby fuck.
So whenever I see chippies, the Binley mega chip or whatever, knowing Britbong culture to a degree, there's two things that pop in my head. There was the classic Green Text story thread of the Chippo Man underneath the Tard story thread. And then there was the famous I'm trying to think of the team, but it was the I've conquered all the chippies, never gonna stop. Chips and peas and gravy, I've had the fucking lot. Pepperoni pizza and chicken vindaloo. I'm a big fat bastard and I love my fucking food. Ole, ole, ole. Yeah, that's that football chant. That's the, whenever I hear Chippy, that's the fucking thing that pops in my head for some reason. That war cry. I can't remember which team it belonged to, because I don't follow. I fucking sure shit don't follow football, like soccer at all. But like, oh boy. But yeah, no. Whenever I hear about chippies, that's all I can think of. And that and the Chippo Man, and yeah, this poor bastard never stood a chance. Let's see this specimen again. I want to see this fat fuck.
Angus here is not only from the moment he fucking hand-planned. Second off, funny you
Let's
should
go
mention
back.
that because our first record is held by one Angus Barbieri.
Oh my
So
god!
who's this fucking ham planet? Well, here's the thing, he was actually cursed from the moment he was born. Because Angus here is not only from fucking Dundee,
Good
with
lord.
all my sympathies, but he's also the son of Italian immigrants who owned a chippy.
Oh no.
He never stood a fucking chance. God basically commanded him from birth to be a tubby fuck.
That's-
The thing is, though, old Angus wanted to flex that indomitable human spirit that I keep hearing so much about, and he decided to try and lose all of that weight. And thus, we get the current world record holder for longest water fast. Because the 27-year-old, who was a hefty heifer at 472 pounds, decided to go under medical supervision and just not eat for a while.
I'm sorry, what?
Nourishing himself off of nothing but water, black coffee, a multivitamin, and yeast extract for the amino acids.
That's just analog Ozempic. Like, yeah, it's also like probably an Italian version of a juice fast. Good lord, but holy shit. Oh boy, that's brutal. And it sounds like he committed to the bit. It sounds like he did it. Which, hopefully he kept the weight off, but like, oh my god. Because like, you guys remember the whole fad with juice fasting? That was like the so-called easy, because like, I mean, juice fasting, the wine diet, that's been talked about before. They are essentially the precursors to the easy way weight loss solution that women tend to fall for, never really see through the end, and of course, you know, always relapse on. Some guys too, but mainly women from what I've seen. And the juice fast especially was brutal. Now they have Ozempic, right? To make it all the more easier, quotation, quote unquote. But good lord. See you, Space Cowboy.
So, how long did he last?
And you gotta remember too, the reason why weight loss in the initial, like for really tubby fuckers, or I guess like overweight fat people in general, why there's such a massive drop of weight in the initial month, 2 months, if done at a fast, is because their metabolism, despite them not exercising, from the sheer amount of caloric intake what their body can adjust to and has to move to maintain, is so goddamn high that when you cut that food out at the source, your body will literally eat itself initially on the fat and fuel itself with the stored fat to cut the weight. It's just when your body begins to adjust to your own basal metabolic rate at a certain point, without exercise, your rate of weight loss, and even if you are exercising, will begin to slow down. And also weight loss, and yeah, if you look at the scale itself, if you are doing the proper way of doing it by actually working out at the gym and weightlifting, when you start building muscle, you start putting on weight, or your weight loss will begin to slow down as your muscle starts to grow. But that's usually so far off for a lot of these major weight loss cases. They're just doing to lose the weight, not put on muscle. But it will slow down eventually because of your basal metabolic rate and your metabolism adjusting to your new set weight and to your current diet. But the reason why I was going to this for him, especially at doing like next to no calories, is that, I mean, in general, even a male of his age, the metabolic rate is like 2,300. And basal metabolic rate means that if you just lay there on the floor, don't move for 24 hours, that's how many calories you burn. That's not including exercise. That's not even factoring exercise, labor, anything of the sort. That's what you burn naturally. My personal basal metabolic rate is roughly 2,800 calories a day if I was just to lay and do jack shit. I mean, literally not even move a muscle. It'd be 2,800 calories. I have to eat to maintain my body weight and body fat percentage and musculature. And then that's not even factoring how much I do in a day. So I have to fuel myself in like 3,800 calories for the amount of labor I do, the amount of physical work I do, physical exercise I do for the week. That's how much I have to eat in a day and recover from. Because also you have to go in muscle recovery too. But you know, for him, especially with this weight loss, like he's on a fucking warpath to lose it, if not a death wish in that case. Kudos to him.
382 days.
Holy shit. And like, yeah, he's still got the pot belly. That's a lot of excess skin though. But like, look at that face, the gaunt cheek lines. I feel this is something I don't really see with many Italians, because the joke is a lot of Italians get like very heavy set. But like, a lot of them Sicilians do have this in-depth eyes, but like his cheek lines, fucking hell, the jawline. But look at the gaunt cheeks, Jesus Christ.
Breaking the world record for the longest time a human being has gone without eating. He survived 382 days without eating a single thing.
What?
Lord knows he had the blubber to survive for that long, and still
Well, fair enough, yeah.
Despair. This understandably resulted in quite the hubbub in the news cycle due to the absolute absurdity of the length and scale. And yes, the refeeding was apparently an absolute nightmare. The man had become kind of institutionalized a little bit. Now, as I'm probably going to be saying quite a bit in this video, I don't think I need to explain why this particular feat is not being recorded by Guinness anymore. Guinness just doesn't want anyone to try and attempt this one again because there is an extremely high risk of someone dying. In this same vein, this also applies to the feat of one Austrian fellow named Andreas Mihavex, who holds the world record for the longest time of fasting without food or water. Unlike most other world record holders, this feat was not planned or intended due to the fact that Andreas had a frankly horrifying experience that he actually just should not have survived.
No shit.
For context,
What happened?
the then 18-year-old Andreas was arrested and put into custody for being involved in a car crash.
Right.
Upon being deposited into his holding cell, which was in the literal basement of a local government building in Hochst near the town of Bregenz in Austria, he was just left there. Yeah, the policeman who booked him and put him in there literally just forgot he was there. He ended up spending the next 18 days in the fucking basement.
What? And no one bothered to check if he was making noise. Like, no, he didn't even, no matter how much he screamed, no one went down there to check on him?
Without food or water. Only barely clinging to life by apparently, and I shit you not, licking the condensed droplets of water that would gradually form along the walls of his cell. Andreas was eventually found by another police officer who was in the building just by complete chance. And he was only alerted to the presence of young Andreas because of the utterly foul stench emanating from the cell. Andreas was let out and instantly rushed to hospital, and he only just barely survived. Once Andreas was better, he understandably sued the ever-loving shit out of the police who had left him in there. He ended up getting a whopping payout of 4,000 Austrian shillings.
Holy shit. That's horrible. What is it with Euros and their fucking just backwards ass fucking compensation for this shit? That's nuts.
Or, in contemporary Yank money, about $1,100. $1,100 for being put through absolute hell and being starved and dehydrated for 18 whole fucking days, nearly killing him, and they gave him $1,100. Now, before you rightfully guffaw at the sheer absurdity of that, you can rest easy, because Andreas eventually got himself a payout from the civil court, equaling to a paltry 250,000 Austrian shillings, or around $62,000, as well as a spot in the Guinness Book of World Records. So, I guess that's a win. But hey, enough about starvation. What about the opposite? Utter gluttony. Yes, we are talking about the largest meal eaten in a single sitting, and that is unofficially held by professional eater Big Bob Shout. But I say unofficially because, as you may have gathered from the title, this record is also no bueno. Because some poor woman in Liverpool fucking died from actually attempting this record in the 80s. She ended up eating so much food that her belly button popped out when she was 9 months pregnant. She was then rushed to hospital where she actually ended up dying after multiple attempts.
That's why gluttony's a sin. Absolutely.
At surgically removing all of the food. She had eaten around 19 pounds of solid food matter.
What?
Or, in real weight, about 8.6 kilograms. I say real weight because if you don't record your lifts in kilos, you're a monkey who just wants to make your numbers bigger than they actually are.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can do both, but fuck it. Like, even if you're talking in the fitness sphere, so many people, it doesn't matter where they're from, will use pounds. I mean, naturally, you will have the Europeans, which will use kilograms, but then even then they'll convert to pounds if they're posting online to make themselves seem larger. I mean, everyone does it. Fucking everyone compensates for something, so okay. But yeah, no, even kilograms, it's impressive, especially if you're working with people who don't understand kilos, or who don't understand pounds and like to use kilos, especially. Someone who's competed in Tenma Miami's matcha review. I like showing the metric numbers because she gets it and she gets impressed by it, so it makes me happy.
Either way, it seems like mukbangers have their work cut out for them.
That they do.
That's food off the table entirely. So what's next? Balloons.
Uh-oh.
With the world record of highest number of balloons being released all at once.
Okay.
This record is actually held by the city of Cleveland, Ohio. And the record is now completely banned.
Right.
And if you want to find out why, well, we actually
Oh, we
have
did do a video on that, okay. Yeah, there was a lot of problems with that one.
an entire video on this exact subject. But the TLDR is all of these millions of falling balloons kind of caused a little bit of chaos all over the city.
Yeah.
So, what about music? Well, you better not be into all of that yodeling stuff because I've got bad news for you. That's right. Sorry,
What's wrong with
fellas,
yodeling?
you know what I'm about to say next. The record for fastest yodel is no longer up for grabs.
God damn it. There goes my chance.
I know. My heart's completely broken. But this record is banned for kind of different reasons.
How so?
Apparently, yodeling is too subjective a method of vocalization to be accurately measured and
So that means scatting's out the table too. Fuck. I gotta carry on Scatman John's legacy somehow.
in a competitive setting. Basically, they didn't actually know what metric to measure it with to say which yodel was the fastest. The current record holder is one Thomas Shaw, who apparently managed to hit 22 different tones, 15
I beg your
of which were
pardon?
falsetto, within the space of a single second.
That's pretty
But,
impressive.
Unfortunately, this record is not recognised by Guinness.
Oh,
I couldn't
fuck off.
find a video of him breaking the record, but take a single glance at this lad's work. And well, I wouldn't be shocked if it was true. Now, by this point, you're probably really starting to get peeved and stressed out.
Yeah, exactly.
Quickly realizing that
I will leave no legacy behind. They're taking everything. They're trying to kill my motion. God forbid a Wipeout get a little bit of motion. God forbid a Lynx get a little bit of motion.
that you've been gunning for have been put to rest. And I don't blame you. So why don't you get in your car, put the heating on, listen to your Sumatran jungle ambience a little bit too loudly, and have a smoke and just decompress for a bit. You know, like that Ryan Gosling fellow in that one film. Burn rubber and all that. Well, actually, maybe not burn rubber. Because, yes, that is also banned. With the records for...
Fuck! They're taking away all the things I can do.
Largest car tyre burnout image, and motorcycle tyre burnout image being shelved due to the talking heads at GWR being moralising Melvins. Saying that, quote... records that encourage destruction for the sake of destruction when harmful for the environment will no longer be entertained. Well, do you know what, Mr. Unnamed GWR spokesperson? Fucking... yeah, that's right. That's right. What are you going to fucking do about it, Doc? Are you also going to lay my record for most mothers pumped to rest as well? Just like you did for all the other ones? Yeah, I didn't think so. You actually couldn't anyways, even if you tried. After all, it'd be a conflict of interest, wouldn't it? And it doesn't stop there with this defilement of motorheads, because alongside having tyre burnouts be shelved, they've also decided to stop recording anything to do with going fast, including, most notably for me, the fastest journey around the world, being held by some Indians who I don't care enough about to name. Because it's apparently going to encourage
speeding. Oh, good heavens. Good heavens, how terrible. How terrible. Such a crime. You know, as a former street racer, there's a little bit of K-Fabe for you. A little bit of lore. I was a former street racer.
What? No way.
No, how terrible.
Going fast in a car could be speeding. Whoa, that's crazy. Jamie, pull up Chinese car accident TikToks. I'm honest.
If you've not seen those, we gotta watch those on stream. Those are something to behold. Chinese fucking... I gotta have a stream where I'm dedicated to just nothing but like international car shit posting. Just National Geographic but for cars. Holy fuck. Sirius Kovacs Automotive Safari. And we watch cultures of Arabian drifting and fucking just Chinese car crashes. We gotta do that on stream. It's gonna be so good. I'm tired of watching like the VTuber. Oh my god, idiots in cars from North America. And sometimes you maybe get like a couple like German or British drivers. Now we gotta watch fucking Russian dash cams. We're gonna watch the fucking Chinese car crashes. We're gonna watch the Arabian drift videos. We're gonna watch the just the wildest things you can imagine. We're gonna do that on stream sometime. I'll make that probably a promise for like next weekend or tomorrow.
I'm sick of these fucking paddies taking all my hopes, dreams and ambitions and crushing them because they want to be just massive fucking nerds about it. I can't be in attendance for the largest audience at a camel wrestling event.
What?
Or collect myself the most voluptuous of chonkers because they suddenly grew a fucking conscience because something...
Well, to be fair, that last one was a problem for a while.
Something animal abuse, which is completely reasonable, save for the fact that this entire fucking organisation was founded over which innocent bird could better evade being fucking shot at. Remember, this entire thing was literally created by a gaggle of Elmer McFuds. But now, oh no, you see the morbidly obese...
We had our fun, so you can't have your fun.
You can't have that anymore, and no, you cannot give him any more spray cheese, because that's not very Keanu Chungus 100 of you now. Sorry, Redditor, you're going to have to get your updates on Reddit Silver to own the chuds and save the world somewhere else. To be fair, the Fat Animals records should be banned, because that was just making people massively overfeed their pets on purpose, which is animal abuse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, fair. Now, you might start wondering if I'm just being unreasonable. No, I'm fucking not, actually, because these fucking Googa Guppy Goy toys at Guinness have even went as far as to stop recording the most difficult tongue twister for undisclosed reasons. They won't even explain why they're not recording that one anymore.
Pussies.
Stunting the venerable and well-respected tongue twister community forever. Which, by the way, I consider myself a proud member of. Naturally, I must now try and read the most difficult tongue twister that they recorded before they enacted this. The six sick shakes, sheep's sick, the six sick shakes, six sheep's.
Sheik. The 6 sick sheiks, 6 sheep's sick. The 6 sick. The 6 sick sheiks, 6 sheep's. Fucking hell.
Sheep sick. Sick. Sheep. Moving on, don't go thinking that it's just me who is affected by Guinness being a bunch of randos.
Yeah, true.
Because even the aforementioned music industry
I've not thought of Randall for years. Jesus.
has been dealt a heavy blow by their autistic busybodying. Most guitars smashed on a single tour is no longer recorded because, I shit you not, due to guitar welfare.
What?
Yes, really, they care for the welfare of fucking Fenders, Stratocasts, and obnoxious metal surfboards, but not the welfare of, you know, me. And it doesn't stop there. Sure, they just shot the busker, but they're also going to take his pennies as well.
Yep.
Because the largest penny pyramid is, of course, also off the table. Because it apparently requires such a large amount of coins to beat the record with 104,000 coins in the structure that, I shit you not, it might actually cause a strain on the US Mint if people start trying to one-up it. I mean, sure, there is that one mad fucking Arizona who gunned for it anyway. Making a pyramid of over 1,030,315 pennies.
Whoa, shit.
But I don't know if Guinness World Records actually accepted it. I know, the indomitable human spirit once more revealing itself by just fucking doing it anyway and not giving a shit about some gay book validating or glazing. Truly inspiring.
Of course.
It makes me want to swoon into some cute honey's arms and give her a big old smooch. And yes, that is another segue because Longest Kiss is also...
Oh, it's so over, bros. So over. Well, that's I shouldn't really care. Not like I had a chance in this record anyways. Takes 2 to tango.
So no longer recorded. Because apparently, touching tongues with a bow for far too long might impact your health.
Of course.
Indeed, the Guinness Book of World Records are so comically evil that they genuinely think the Universal Declaration of Intimacy and Love is detrimental to your physical well-being. I mean, yeah, sure, the current world record holder is a Thai couple who maintained a kiss without sleeping, eating, or shitting for...
Thai couple didn't say what type of Thai couple it was. Those ladyboys got a little bit... I'm going to say it. I don't think it was a woman who was at that seminar. I'm going to say it's probably 2 ladyboys.
58 hours straight. So, I could maybe give that some leeway. Though maybe Guinness do have a point when they say that women are bad for your health. I'm going to leave you with this one. The most utterly reprehensible example that I'm aware of. The most poetically fucked up and evil discontinuation that will forever haunt my mind due to just the sheer irony of it. The Guinness Book of World Records has discontinued most beer drunk in an hour. I'm being completely serious. The Record Association, owned by a literal fucking brewery, does not record the most beer drunk in an hour.
I'm just speechless at that. But then again, also, this is a Irish company, and we know how Ireland is nowadays. Northern Ireland and the British colonial Southern Ireland. Let me put it to let me just put it the long way here. I believe it was in Scotland, Ireland, or UK. They banned the use of sponsored parasols or umbrellas for patio tables of beer companies. So branding is not allowed for any form of pub that was branded and sponsored by a beer company. Not like I drink alcohol regardless, but that is so tyrannically and nasty retarded bullshit. And it's another thing to keep people more isolated from each other as well. Not like the economy is always one thing, far from it, but like is one thing to go off it. But Jesus Christ, this is just so cocked. Oh my God.
You couldn't make it up.
No.
Actually, do you know what else you couldn't make up?
No. What else?
Who currently holds the record? It is none other than one Jack Keys, a 23-year-old from a place that I've been informed to call Belfast Derry, so that I equally piss off both sides.
Okay.
Indeed, the record is held by a Mick who managed to square away 36 pints of what I can reasonably assume was Guinness in 1969.
No shit. Look at that lad. Look at him. Look at that absolute lad. Oh man. Dude's rocking. Look at that. Look at that goatee, man. The mustache you can probably trim up a bit, but look at that goatee. That is a stylish man. Oh, even turtleneck sweater. Ooh, with the cardigan. That is a lad.
Of what I can reasonably assume was Guinness in 1969. All of this is to say that when it comes to the sly schemes of the perfidious Paddy, they will always end up on top. I keep Africa Chan under very, very close watch for a very good reason.
I would too.
And that more importantly, I will be gunning for one of these records.
But which one?
But I'm not going to tell you which one.
Exactly.
It's Count Dankula on YouTube. Everybody's just...
Oh man, hell of a video. Yeah, go check out Count Dankula. Absolutely. I mean, once again, this is just another one of his newer videos, but come on, really? Like that's what they got him banned for? So stupid. But yeah, now check out Count Dankula. Absolutely subscribe to his channel, follow the video, and just go to the original content. I just fully support him. And once again, I've said before, Marcus, I love your videos sometimes. Yeah, you give me a bit of a spurg about America, but you know what? I love your videos. And we'll move on. I'm going to take a quick break for a sec. Just check things out. Oh, Jesus. Hang on, I'm just gonna take a sec to get up a quick breather and just take a brief moment. I'll be right back, okay?
That guy up and you fly right back.
back. Just checking on the Twitch side, seeing how we're doing. See if we're still up and running. It is a Saturday night. I don't think many people are going to be here. That's okay. If anyone is, I can't complain. I know it sounds pathetic, but hey yo. Sometimes I get people, sometimes I don't. I'm not in it for that. I'm very guerrilla with my streaming tactics. But yeah, we are back. And just gonna look around. Splendid. I'm gonna post this in my channel for the boys. But yeah. So chat, I think we're gonna continue on in just a moment. Okay, here we go. Back to our regularly scheduled stream. Just gonna go back here and here. I think we got enough content for the day. And we are going to move on to a different video now. I think we shall watch. What should we watch? I don't really know what to do. I'm really gonna plan this far into the stream. I don't want to talk about current topics. I'm not really interested in that. Let's watch some Yarn Hub. We just did a recent video 8 days ago about when F9F Panthers 8 Soviet MiGs for just 8 Soviet MiGs. If you don't know who Yarn Hub is, they are a great channel which started very, very humbly, doing very humble beginnings, and they were doing animation. They were doing animation regarding war stories. And while I do make it a bit more palatable for normies, they cover, thankfully, all sides of major conflicts of the 20th century. This means they've taken sides and shown German pilots and German tank crews and war heroes doing their thing of the Second World War. They show both American and Soviets. They showed British. They've shown Canadians. They've shown many war stories and tales that are often not even covered. And I feel like they do it solid justice enough to keep it in the then and there, not the whole grand scheme of things, not berate, not lambast anyone regardless of the side, and just put the story out for what it is, while adding some of their own creative liberties to it, which I feel like is splendid enough on their own end. But this one is the incident of when American Navy pilots took on Russian MiG-15s over during the Korean War, and nearly caused an international incident.
It's the 18th of November, 1952.
Let me get rid of the closed captions.
F9F5 Panther jets are on their way to strike a target in North Korea.
Also check out Yarn Hub at all. Completely just subscribe to them. They are top notch at their work. I of course will take no credit, no anything from this video. I just want to watch on stream with you guys and talk to you guys about it, whoever shows up. But more importantly, always check out Yarn Hub. Always check out the original creators. I'm just a guy absorbing this. And I really appreciate it because I haven't seen anyone talk about the F9F Panther in years. And it's of an early jet. It is definitely a wonderful piece of machinery. Yeah, it's got flaws to it, but considering how rapidly jet development was going at the time, it managed to hold its own for a good little while.
A few miles from the Soviet border, when the section leader, Lieutenant Almer Royce Williams, gets a call on the radio from the American Strike Force.
We have 7 bogeys incoming. Protect the fleet at all costs. Copy.
Here we go.
83 miles to the north.
I know they're over the ocean at this time. Because there's only certain areas you can drop your payload. That they are approved drop payload in for jettison to go in and strike. But I always wondered, at like most inopportune times, how many collateral deaths or injuries came from jettison payloads over Europe during the Second World War. That includes the drop tanks for the fighter pilots. Because like those tanks got to go somewhere. And if they made the mistake of crashing on someone's house or home, how many people got killed by those?
A Soviet base just outside of Vladivostok picks up the American contacts and radios to flight leader Captain Nikolai Belyakov. Captain Belyakov and his men are in the most dominant fighters of the time prowling the Korean skies.
Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for saying this. But... and I really shouldn't get a lot of shit for saying this. It's partial. It's a part and partial inspiration, but not fully... I'm not saying it's the one-off inspiration, because I know the joke about the Gotha or Hordenho 229 being, however one likes to claim it, was the for a while the B-2 Spirit's predecessor, and that's how we got the B-2 Spirit, because the Hordenho 229, though America was developing flying wings of their own. People don't realize that the MiG-15 and later F-86 Sabre, kind of the Sabre, but for the most part, a lot of these earlier fuselage engine jets with these open inlets and these short, stubby bodies, high tails, wings, they're meant to dogfight, right? This is before missile combat really took over the precedent of aerial combat. These were based off a design by Kurt Tonk, partially Focke-Wulf, but also Kurt Tonk, of the famous Focke-Wulf fame, called the TA-183 Huckebine, which was a prototype, actually had operational prototype models that were both studied and captured. The models and Tonk and his aeronautical engineers were captured or surrendered to the Allies and were paperclipped by the Allies, as opposed to the Russians who raided the Focke-Wulf factories and got their hands on the prototype blueprints. But a lot of the earlier fighter jets were based around the Huckebine, mainly with its just insanely... I mean, Tonk's philosophy for dogfighting, for aerial combat, or just aerial fighters, was very simple. He believed they should be robust, they should be fast, roll easy. Like, basically, he went by the same methodology that people want to really make a, the fighter plane mafia, and the story. Fucking Laserpig video here, but I'm not going to go on Laserpig because he's kind of gone off the deep end, in my opinion, as of recently. But we've covered this before. In the days of when gunfighting was still the main thing, the T-813 design was a superior design. Not to say that there wouldn't be development from the Allies eventually, but the most radical design was put through by Focke-Wulf's design team and Kurt Tonk's design team, and it would really show in the early days of jet fighting. The MiG-15 especially, you can see it more so the MiG-15 because it's got shorter. It's a very short and stubby frame with a large wing. But the main goal of the Huckebine, just like the Focke-Wulf 190 aircraft, was that it was the smallest body, most armored body, most armament on a body, and the most powerful conventional engine you get your hands on. The reason why the Focke-Wulf 190 was so good is that it composed of the 109 or Spitfire during its early days, was that it used a radial engine to cool itself as opposed to the liquid cooled engines, which had had cooling vanes that would run into and radiators that would run into the wings, which pose a lot of spots to hit and basically cause the engine to overheat if you struck a coolant line. As opposed to the radial engines, which, while larger and less aerodynamic, could take in a lot more punishment and could keep that the airflow going for itself, just naturally by its air inlet. The Focke-Wulf was designed in a way where it worked with this drag problem of the radial engine, to the best of its abilities, which it did splendidly. But it was also on the stubbiest, smallest airframe they could basically manufacture that would fly well and that would basically also handle well enough with said engine and make it conventional for the pilot. So it was basically, as Kurtonk said, and his philosophy of it was, the 109 is a purebred racehorse. These liquid-cooled fighters are purebred racehorses. They're meant to go fast, but they need to be pampered. They're temperamental. They have a lot of things that can cause them to go off kilter. As opposed to his philosophy with the 190, which was to make it a draft horse, a workhorse, a war horse. It could work in tough terrain. It was simplistic enough for ground crews. It had less faults it had less points of failure to deal with, and it relied mainly on its handling and firepower. Not to say it had great speed to it. I mean, it was one of the fastest fighters of the war when it came out, but Tonk would later put that onto the TA-183 Huckebein prototype concept. And the Huckebein basically looks like these, but it's much shorter, stubbier, with same wing, probably the same wingspan, but like same tail height. A bit more stubbier, because it was very much a prototyping concept to use the least amount of materials and be a short-range interceptor, and just basically fit the engine, fit some guns, that's it. That was the Huckebein. Or Huckebein. Anyway, either way. It was it very much led the way for early jet fighter design. And not to say it was totally, once again, not to say Focke-Wulf or Tonk that made up completely, because I know people want to point and do the wearaboo, wearaboo. No. It was a myriad of things, but mainly especially for the Soviets, a lot of that design came from the Focke-Wulf factory and blueprints.
Guys, the Soviet MiG-15 BIS. The American planes and the Soviet planes.
Look at the two, like swept delta wings, or not even delta wings, just swept wing versus fixed wing. Both of them are single engine fighters. This one's MiG-15 rolls better, it's faster. Armament was less, and this is before the Sabre came on into the full form that we know it as. Though mainly the Sabre was used with the Air Force, while the Army was using the Panther. The Navy was using the Panther for the longest time.
Turn towards each other. The four Americans burst through the cloud cover at 12,000 feet when Williams gets another message, this time from his flight leader.
Terminal engine trouble. I must return to the carrier. Copy. I'll take it from here.
As his flight leader and his wingman turn away.
And that's a problem. During the Korean War, they all flew in pairs, and also with Vietnam, the United States doctrine very much relies on steel over man, or steel over flesh. Which is why a lot of, once again, America's best pilots, while not having the highest kill scores as a lot of other nations would have, retain their best to come back and train the next generation or upcoming fighter pilots or tank crews or naval officers. You name it, because you want to keep a good flow of knowledge and training in your next generation to keep a good steady flow of stock of above average to excellent members, as opposed to putting your best out there for the longest you can until they get shot down and killed. Though this also method applied to their wingman strategy, which was to keep flying in pairs. Which in this case here, you're going on a 2-on-7 battle here. It's already bad enough, but considering the advantages the MiG-15 had over the Panthers, that just makes it a hell of a lot worse.
Williams looks up to see contrails. 7 of them. It's just Williams and his wingman, Lieutenant Dave Rowlands, left to take on what the Americans still think are 7 Korean jets.
And they're thinking Korean too. Yeah, that's a problem. Now, while in this case it wasn't that same case here. During the war, infamously, the Russians would both train their pilots and the Korean pilots and the Chinese pilots by sending in some of their best pilots who would also go on their own exercise training programs. And these guys were called honchos by the Americans. And this is more towards the mid to later of the Vietnam War, where the MiGs would go against the Sabres in this case. And the honchos were Russia's top aces, basically stretching their legs and fighting against the Americans. However, because they were not allowed to fight, essentially, the Russians were not allowed to be combatants in the Korean War unless they started the Third World War. The honchos, if they were behind enemy lines, were not allowed to parachute and would have to go down with the aircraft and die. Soviets very much believing male flesh over steel in that case. And honcho pilots were infamous and were known, essentially, to a degree. And basically, it was a game to see who could kill who first. Because if you killed a honcho, well, technically he was a Korean pilot, but secretly, we all know deep down that you killed one of Russia's top aces at the time, and that was the prize for a lot of Sabre pilots. It was also to stick it back to them. It's like, okay, can we take them out before they take us out?
Americans are the only ones standing between the enemy and the American ships. Belyakov orders the groups to split into two and dive upon the enemy. The nimble MiGs roll and dive. Williams and Rowlands are at 26,000 feet when they see the MiGs split, but they lose sight of them as the contrails disappear. Suddenly, impacts clatter on Williams' fuselage and tracers zip by his canopy. They're coming from the right. Williams and Rowlands break into evasive maneuvers, rolling and turning as the first MiG roars by them. A second MiG attacks. There's more clacks and bangs reverberating through Williams' airframe as the speeding fighter litters them with lead. It flies past, but it's...
And you know what? This is what I always loved about I feel it's a real shame that outside of Warthen there's not really much in terms of this. And it was such a brief moment in history too, where the gunfighter was still the dominant fighter aircraft at the time. While bombers were really getting most of the funding. Because it was at the time it was the atomic bomber that people were most worried about, and we got to make them faster, fly higher, so they wouldn't be touched. But the fighters at the time were still gunfighters for the most part, and with very early missile systems, mainly used for ground strikes. I find it very impressive, personally, that and I feel like there should be more combat simulators with this type of method, because there's not really anything for Korean War in terms of military games or anything of the sort, but I just find the concept of jet gunfighting really interesting too. But then you have to realize the moment you guys go supersonic is you have to have such a lead to your trajectory, and your bullets have to, and the caliber and the speed and muzzle velocity and speed you have to fire the bullets out at it and lead onto your target has to be so much greater that it became such a impractical measure, especially as speeds went way beyond supersonic, that it was obvious that missile systems were going to take over regardless. But just for that brief moment in history, I love the designs. I love the higher speed, higher stake action of jet dogfighting, because the MiG-15 and F-86 Sabres were really, really agile. But you're also dealing with aircraft that flew close to the sound barrier. So just this high tense speed and rapid acceleration mixed with just the nimble, the same agility as the World War II dogfighters during their prime. This is just such a concept. I feel like that would have been such a great arena combat game or something of the sort. But I don't think it's meant to be, because it's such a short-lived and not even really talked about subjects, considering the Korean War is often forgotten.
Placed by yet another MiG pouncing on the vulnerable Panthers. The American Panthers have good roll.
Yeah, they do.
They're completely outclassed by the MiGs in air-to-air combat. A fourth MiG comes in hot. He opens fire upon the Panthers, raking them with 23 and 37mm shells. But the Americans are already turning
major
to the left
firepower
as
on
the
this
last
thing.
MiG flies by. Williams slides in behind it.
Okay, well, It has two 38 like caliber shell, 38 caliber machine gun rounds and 23 millimeter shells. I believe it just said. So 3 guns in total, but concentric down, the 38s, yeah, are gonna tap out the fuselage for heavier armored aircraft, but like the 23s are gonna pound right through them. So it's very much like, and they basically put, and since you no longer have a propeller in front of your aircraft, they got creative with their gun placement, so it's just dead center of the fuselage. You don't need to have I forget what it's called, but like the just adjustment for the wing guns where they have to worry about the spread of it. You can just keep all your bullets as just straight in the fuselage, making it much easier for lining up shots and not really with less adjustment and for both pilot and ground crew.
Pulling it into his crosshairs, and he opens fire. Inside the MiG, Senior Lieutenant Pakomkin feels the impact of a hit as alarms blare in the cockpit. He turns back and sees smoke pouring from his plane and 2 Americans on his tail. He dives and runs. Dave Rowlands sees the opportunity and dives after the enemy fighter, leaving Williams alone to watch the 3 remaining MiGs pulling away. As they do, Williams notices that their wings are emblazoned, not with blue and red circles and the red star of North Korea.
Yep.
But with the bare red star of the Soviet Union.
Cap Control, these MiGs are Soviets.
At the same time,
oh boy,
the National Security Agency contacts the American fleet. The American spy agency has listened to the Soviets' transmission.
Yep. The spooks got to them. The spooks are finally coming in to tell them, hey, you fucked up.
Do not engage. This could start World War III.
Williams receives a message and responds.
I'm already engaged.
He sees the 3 MiGs effortlessly scream almost vertically, then turn and come in for another attack run. The Soviet jets are faster, and they're already in a hot fight. Despite the risk of wider conflict, Williams has no choice but to rise to meet them. In the MiGs, Belyakov is in the lead. The American's coming to meet them on his own, and the MiGs are in a dive. It's head-to-head. The 3 planes go roaring past the American, firing all the way.
Jesus!
But incredibly, no hits are scored.
Just imagine that, like at the speeds they're going at. Like, I don't know how much Williams is going on in the climb, but like these guys are probably pouncing them at like 500 plus miles per hour. So that closing distance of like maybe like 400, like 4.5, or so like 450 or like just close to 400 miles per hour on his end. Closing speed of basically the speed of sound. That is fucking terrifying.
On either side, Williams now tries to get more altitude when a stream of tracers comes flying in from the opposite direction. It's the other 3 MiGs, which means that 6 MiGs are now fighting with Williams.
On him.
He brakes and rolls and dives. Enemy planes are incredibly close as he rolls and turns, trying to escape from the fire of the Soviets. The attacks are relentless.
I'm sorry, Yarnhub, but you got a middle of an animation error here.
He's trying to escape.
He still got his bombs when he's supposed to jettison them back at the opening of the video. I know, nitpick, but I mean their animation team is pretty stressed out probably, but like I mean, this wasn't here before.
From the fire of the Soviets. The attacks are relentless. 4 MiGs fly past in formation, and Williams gets behind.
And now they're gone.
Inside a MiG, the Soviet pilot feels dread as he turns back to see the Panther on his tail. The Soviet pilot's training kicks in, and he immediately pulls upwards towards the sun, leaving the rest of his flight to pull away to the right.
Smart.
Williams follows a target and is instantly blinded. He can't take aim, and so gives up the chase, turning away from the sun. But the moment he does, he's met by 2 MiGs flying down straight towards him. There's no time to dodge. Williams instead turns straight towards them, challenging them again to a head-on joust. He opens fire, and the lead MiG, piloted by Captain Nick.
And this is another thing too, is that with gunfighting too, they're following the Diktabolka. And Diktabolka was designed in World War I by Oswald Bulka as basically the. Okay, let me put it in hood rat terms. It's the 10 crack commandments of dogfighting, or just basically just 10 commandments of dogfighting. The first one is always keep the sun towards your back. That's number 1. Never follow your enemy down when they're going down. That's always set for a trap. Never follow your enemy lower to the deck. One of the ones that's also in there, and it's very important, and it's a lot of the best fighter pilots in the world have done, is always turn to your enemy's attack. Put him on the defense. It's always wise to do that. Now, granted, if he's coming at you from the sun, that's going to be hard to do, but if you put him on the defense and he's coming at you, it's going to take him aback, right? Also, the thing is, before you pursue your enemy, always check over your tail to see if you're being followed yourself. Because you're most vulnerable when you're in a chase. When you're chasing someone. So, if you follow the Diktabolka, which both the Soviets and Americans are doing, because the Diktabolka was, of course, yes, I know everyone's proud of the Germans and people who like German aircraft or German military aircraft or whatever, like, oh, you're a wereaboo, even if it's First World War, they like to get all, actually, or you're just a wereaboo this, wereaboo that. The Diktabolka was literally was just outright taught to the best German pilots of the war. Richthofen, Voss, Udet, Wolfgang, all of them, or Wolf, they all trained under the Diktabolka. Pilots of the Second World War too. American, British, Soviet, eventually. All the United Kingdom's colonies and like Commonwealth. The Japanese even. They, at one point or the other, learned the Diktabolka. It's just basic common knowledge, but that's what they're doing here. And they use the sun to their advantage. Nowadays, it's less of a factor, but it used to be especially a factor. Just, what's the most easy way to blind your enemy? Get him to the sun. Simple.
Like Belyakov turns away, but his wingman, Senior Lieutenant Alexander Vandeyev, takes on the challenge. The MiG opens fire. Tracers pour out of both machines, crossing over each other in the air.
Oh, yeah.
The pilot watches the enemy shells drop and pass underneath him. He can't
now
see.
That's it's gutsy to just fly already at a high speed towards each other, but that's even gutsier to just take that risk of just taking the shells right at your face.
But his own shells are also falling short of the enemy. But they hold their triggers down as they come closer. A 20mm shell strikes straight into the MiG's cockpit,
oh my god,
hitting Vandeyev and killing him instantly. Williams sees the MiG stop firing as it flies upside down.
The no shootdowns are recorded then. It may show one of the two MiG-15s down on 18th November 1952. Okay, a Soviet MiG-15 was shot down over Korea by U.S. Navy fighter. This photo is dated. Okay, no shootings were recorded then. It may show. Okay, yeah, because also, if you gotta remember this too, a lot of these files were classified and blacklisted because these were MiGs on Americans. These were Soviet USSR MiGs on Americans. Soviet pilots, American pilots. This would have caused an international incident on both sides.
Down underneath him. Another MiG flies past, and Williams, on pure reflexes, fires another blast and takes out the third MiG of the day. In the lead MiG, Belyakov watches as two other MiGs are shot down, including his wingman, and he turns back to avenge his fallen comrades.
Oh yeah, you don't get pissed off.
But Williams sees him coming. He turns for another head-to-head battle. There's only a short exchange of fire as chunks are blown off the MiG. Williams dodges the debris as the two planes pass. He looks back at his enemy and sees it diving away out of the fight. The American turns hard to chase, but as he does, a MiG screams in behind, and that...
Never, ever, ever turn to chase your enemy down. Once again, Diktabolka. Never do that.
It's a hit on the Panther. He's been hit before.
The greed for the kill, for the hunt, is always the downfall of most pilots.
The way his plane lurches,
they're even the best pilots,
makes him understand that he's in deep trouble. A 37mm round strikes his wing and punches clean through and into the engine compartment. The impact wrecks the hydraulic systems.
Worse stuff too.
His rudder.
Yeah, I mean, these engines were also, despite them being early jet engines, they're very, very robust. The thing is, though, at this point, they had to go from complete analog to hydraulic systems just to operate these aircraft at these speeds nowadays, at this time period. And with these gone, yeah, he's gonna be in a hell of a fight now.
Flaps and half of his ailerons are gone.
Damn it!
Williams looks back as the MiG stays behind him, riddling his Panther with lead.
Like, let me put it to you this way. I know it's not really much of a comparison in all the grand scheme of things, but if you lose hydraulic power on power steering, on high-powered sports cars, for example, especially when they're heavier GT cars, you're wrestling with a machine that weighs 5,000, 4,000 pounds. Like nowadays, like the fucking Mustangs are like 4,500 pounds. Like if you lose hydraulic or power assisted steering, you're shot. Like you can't move that car. It's not agile. It's gone. If it was like a lightweight car, you know, far more simplistic, cut down, doesn't need as much power. You can jack up as much power as you want, but like doesn't need that much power compared to the Mustang to get it going. Well, it can move just fine. Once it's like at a lower speed, but you need higher speeds to move all that extra weight without hydraulic assistance or some sort of power assistance, and this is why they needed it. And also, that's why a lot of them go to electronic motors for the control systems nowadays, because hydraulics still operate great analog wise, but the thing is with hydraulics too is that they create a lot more lines for failure, a lot more failure points. That's why electric motors for steering, for like on cars, or even for aircraft, have taken over. No, it's not always a guaranteed or a variable, because there are many cases where hydraulics are still being used, because there's plenty of applications where just electric motors are not sufficient enough.
Immediately attempts to roll, but his stomach sinks as the aircraft responds unbearably, terrifyingly slowly. More cracks reverberate through the fuselage as he wills his aircraft to escape. The Panther wobbles as he does, the lack of rudder making the aircraft terribly unstable. Williams is forced to be careful with his inputs, or else lose control altogether. And throughout, the MiG has no problem following the limping Panther. But the American still has his elevator, so he does the only thing he can. He pulls up and then pushes down, riding a wave motion to try and get some distance between him and his enemy before he can reach clouds, which are still 10,000 feet below him. Bullets continue to strike his fuselage. Any one impact could be the last. His luck is running out. He's not going to make it. But then...
Come on.
Cap, on your left!
His wingman appears out of the blue and comes soaring in, opening fire at the one remaining MiG, forcing it to pull off the chase. Now, inside the safety of the cloud, Williams pulls up, leveling off at 400 feet in altitude.
Hell yeah.
He's just survived a grueling 6 versus 1 dogfight.
But here's the problem. Can you make it home?
Lasted over half an hour, at full throttle. But how is he going to land? He tries to get a feel for his wounded machine. His flight controls don't respond properly, and he finds he can't slow under 170 knots without his plane becoming uncontrollable. It's an incredibly high speed for a carrier landing. He looks down at the churning sea and knows ejection's no option. He'd only survived 20 minutes in the cold water at most. Not enough time to get a helicopter to rescue him. He needs to land.
Coming in for a landing. Maneuverability severely compromised. Minimum speed 170 knots.
The commanding officer of aircraft carrier USS Oriskany.
Jesus, that sucks. I haven't seen one of these. Oh man. Yeah, the late World War II, and like post World War II, like immediately afterwards, aircraft carriers still following older doctrine, but they were designed for a different generation of aircraft. But they were still able to adapt to the as being like being the holdovers for the new class of aircraft carriers. I just still think it's just like I still find that interesting, that the era between then and the Vietnam War. Such an interesting era of just rapid jet development. It was such a race with old technology still holding on as holdovers till they could get the new aircraft in the air, new equipment ready to go, and new technology. It was such a rapid development post Second World War of everything and across the whole board and military tech, that I don't know what to say. It's just such an interesting era, really.
Captain Courtney Shands orders to prepare for a crash landing. 170 knots is fast, but fortunately, there's a full-on storm with powerful winds. So with the ship going directly into the wind, Shand orders to get the maximum they can out of the engines. In the air, Williams' heart is racing. Everything he does on the plane feels floaty and imprecise as he teeters on the edge of control. He musters all his skill and spots the aircraft carrier. and lowers his landing gear.
Yeah, he's going hot.
The added drag affects a Panther's aerodynamics, and he starts immediately veering off course. Williams wrestles with the controls, but struggles to bring it back in line.
I'm gonna miss it.
Shands looks out with his binoculars. Williams is misaligned and not getting back on the flight path. He knows he won't survive the
man.
go-around. He needs to land now.
Come on.
And if he can't align with the carrier, then the carrier must align with him.
Tell him to keep going. Heading 196 now.
The whole aircraft carrier starts turning. Captain Shands keeps his eyes on
That's-
Williams, ordering course corrections.
That's ballsy.
There's a
love
barely
it.
controllable Panther. Barrels in.
You have to
toward-
forget how fast these carriers can turn, despite their size, how fast they move and how fast they turn. That's just... don't some of these like aircraft carriers get like past 35 knots? Or like nearly sometimes up to 40 knots, if I remember correctly, some of the fastest ones in the world. Just, holy shit.
The flight deck. He's still crooked, but time is running out. The American pilot is forced to commit to final approach, while his runway still turns before him. 500 yards, 250 yards, 100 yards, 50 yards. This is it. Royce
Meant to
Williams
it, come on.
in his Panther jet slams the aircraft down at 200 miles an hour. Miraculously, the third cable grabs and he's lurched forward as the wounded bird is brought to an abrupt stop.
Holy shit.
He'd done it. After half an hour of grueling battle against 7 enemies, his F-9F Panther had suffered 263 holes across its fuselage and so much wing damage. It's a
Holy.
miracle it didn't snap off.
Okay, let's stop.
It-
Lieutenant Royce Williams observed some of the damage on his F-9F Panther, F-5 Panther, sustained combat with 7 MiGs. Okay, so that's actual data photo. Jesus, look at the size of that 23mm. Holy crap, they tapped him. And look at the damage like he's standing on too.
Was then that the cover-up started.
Yeah, of
in
course.
a huge effort to calm the fires of a potential catastrophic conflict between 2 nuclear superpowers. Both sides exchanged harsh diplomatic notes, but the incident was not made public by either side, and with all records connected to it, classified. Gun footage was edited to remove Soviet roundels. Any reference in the transcripts of that day referring to Soviet fighters were just changed to enemy.
Of course.
Williams was awarded the Silver Star for his part in the action. He continued his service, retiring in 1980 and never telling a soul what happened until 50 years later, when the documents about that fight became declassified.
Yeah.
When the story went public in Russia, the Russians conceded to 3 planes being lost, having been ambushed by the Americans.
Of course, always your fault of Medica. But I could see 3. I could see a couple injured ones going down because the one that he failed to chase down. So 3 out of 7, that's not bad. And considering that we don't even know Collins, what he did with the one that he was fighting against. Did he knock that one down? It could be 4. Who knows?
The US government upgraded Williams's
Captain E. Royce Williams being awarded by the Navy Cross.
Silver Star to a Navy Cross in 2022. And in 2026,
Not a boy. No.
there's news that he may even be getting the Medal of Honor.
I mean, at this point, give it to him, man. That's ballsy. Give Collins the Navy Cross. Give him the Medal of Honor.
Captain Royce Williams is still alive today and 100 years old, and we very much
100, Jesus, man. I hope he gets it, and I hope it's not posthumous.
hope that he enjoys this film.
For another great modern air battle, check out this film on when MiG-29s ambushed Eagles in Iraq.
I wouldn't say this is modern, but yeah, no, absolutely. That's Jesus. It's really something to behold. Alright. I think we should move on. That was a great video by Yarnhub. What time is it? That's 12 o'clock on my end. Alright, we're just going to move on just a sec. I'm just going through my work here, see if there's anything else. Yeah. You know what? I'm seeing something right now on Twitter I think I want to talk about. On X. I'm not willing to talk about current things, and don't worry, it's not as obnoxiously current as most people would make it out to be. I'm on X right now, and I want you to get a look at this shit. In just a moment, I'll pull it up. Check this. So this motherfucker. So Jethro cards. Parody of Jethro, but he's one of these Pokemon collectors, not collectors, fucking scalpers. And he's just bought out nothing but the whole box of everything from 36 Walmart's clearinghouse to resell. Okay? Now, why do I care about this? I don't really, truth be told. I don't collect Pokemon cards. When I said before, as a kid, I used to, right? And I was in the hobby years ago. The thing is, I, of course, got out before COVID. And I remember in 2020, 21, the trading card boom began its unfortunate rise. Now, I did admittedly make a profit back when, because one day I went to the Walmart during COVID to get some supplies. And I happened to walk past a resupply of a woman just resupplying the Pokemon card section, and there was 2 boxes of electronic boxes of evolutions. I was a teenager at the time. I'm like, okay, I work my ass off at a part-time job. And I work full-time during school hours. I do school and whatever. I treat yourself. I bought the 2 boxes. I kind of just held on to them. For $80, I sold them for $800 a couple months later. I'm prefacing this with this story because it's not a hustle I want, but I sat there, I'm like, wow, I made this money, and I kind of sat there and went, wait a minute. When I was a kid, and I wanted to buy packs of Pokemon cards, it was expensive. I'd wait, maybe for an allowance, or work my ass off to earn a couple dollars to buy a pack. Kids aren't getting that chance anymore. No one but millennials or Gen Z are getting the fucking hobby, or like adult Gen Z are getting the hobby, and they're doing it as some form of investment. Like everything's a fucking quote unquote investment, even though it's not really an investment. Kind of like how people invested in like Cabbage Patch Kids and Beanie Babies back when. I'm not kidding you. There's actual stories of people who bought into investing into that. Life savings, retirement plans. And while Moist Critical makes his video series about these goobers who collect Pokemon cards and resell them, reinvest them, Charlie admittedly had his hand in the part of this whole hype thing back during COVID, when he was ripping open Yu-Gi-Oh boxes, spending tens of thousands of dollars back then, when people were out of the job. I'm not going after Charlie for that. I kind of am, because he was kind of like, even his girlfriend at the time was like, Charlie, they're not making money at that time. And yes, it makes it sound like I'm shitting on Charlie. I'm trying to bring up beef or smoke. I'm not. I'm just kind of pointing out that, like, he did have his hand in the party, and now he's capitalizing on the cringe thing that is on this fatherless behavior that is the scalping market. But I'm looking at this right here, and I've been saying this for a long time. This is my opinion on this matter. It's really a thing you're noticing with like millennials, but Gen Z especially, older Gen Z now. I don't think kids are getting any form of hobbies at all nowadays, because no one can really afford to get into hobbies. Because goobers like this, jackasses like this, look, took 36 Walmarts, but we did it. He cleared out everything. They fucking tracked down these these Walmarts for restocks. They track down, because like car shops are going to sell them these bundles. Car shops are going to sell them at a premium, but they're going to sell them like one at a time or like a certain sets. These guys just hit every single Walmart they can and every department store to just clean house on these things, to push people away, beat people up, get them out of the way. They will put trackers on trucks. Like we see this one on Caleb Hammer's podcast. Absolute nut jobs that will do tracking and go into hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for the hustle, man, the Pokemon card hustle. You see this especially with that one goober, that one idiot on Caleb Hammer who was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Actually $100,000 in debt in Pokemon cards, and he's like, "You see, man, I'm wearing this card on my chain. I got a PSA graded, bro. You don't understand it. It's real money, real investment." I'm like, and you have to remember something: the whole Pokemon, the whole trading card market, and even the Lego market, like there's a lot of things involved. It's speculation market. It's not just scalping, it's a speculation market. People are over speculating each and every card there is. I had cards that are worth hundreds of dollars today that when I pulled them were worth $5-10 for years. And it just shot up because people wanted so-called invest. They want to have these investment, bro. Make everything an investment. And the problem is that these things don't actually have tangential value. It's kind of like how boomers with the old baseball cards put hyper speculated value on baseball cards back when, or even muscle cars back when. And that bubble burst. Yes, they're still worth, the premium, like Mickey Mantle rookie cards are still worth a couple $1,000s. But they were speculated at $15,000, $25,000 in 2003, mind you. Some of the things, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So there's a couple cards that were millions that have lost like 2/3 of their value. And what I'm seeing with the Pokemon is with Pokemon cards is the exact same thing in Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Magic the Gathering is the exact same thing I saw with boomers in the 2000s with this. And the way I see it, this is a guy who formerly was a cartophile, and cartophile once again means a collector and lover of trading cards. I loved old cartophilium tobacco cigarette cards. Don't really own any, but I have replica examples. I just found the concept neat. But I never in my life would ever imagine, nor would ever think this is a worthwhile investment. And look at this. Look at what this, and he's doing it because also a lot of these scalpers act hard, and they all have the same phenotypes, whether they're overweight or they're just they're like some knockoff Foozy Tube or knockoff, what's that guy who did the fucking 3 a.m. challenge? You know the one I'm talking about. Of dead celebrities. Oh man, I remember his name. Anyway, they all look like the same phenotype of them. You know, the patchy beard, hat cap backwards, glowing LED studio lights with like boxes and shelves and glasses, and just, bro, dude, we gotta make a pull, man. We gotta make our hit, bro. You can see streams of these things, of these just jagoffs. And this guy here cleared out 36 Walmarts, right, to do this shit. He claims, like, I'm gonna take it with a grain of salt, because also be rage baiting too. And he's really also rage baiting in his own thread to really poke. This day meme tweet, the righteous angry people, Destiny Europe. I've been retweeting this kind of tweets for years. I don't go around from store to store buying out the shelves. Additionally, this is not my pick, but okay. So Jeff, okay. So this guy is doing. Okay, never mind. This whole thread here. I guess maybe I did shoot myself in the foot here, but this whole thread essentially was this guy trying to be a rage baiter. But I do want to talk about this. See, even here. Oh, for fuck's sake! I'm gonna have to cut this. I'm not gonna cut this. But I'm gonna keep this bit in a video clip. Actually, I should probably pull off this. Holy fuck! This tangent. Yeah. Okay. 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 Grain of salt on everything. Never mind. I'm gonna cut this. I'm gonna cut this bit. This was stupid. I'm sorry. I fell for some bait. I'm sorry. It would have been funny because it would lead into things I wanted to talk about, but nah. Okay. Moving on. You know what? I think I had a good stream today. I think I'm gonna call it.